It looks like we're live. I think we are live. I just got an alert from YouTube saying we're live, so yeah, I tend to believe it. I believe that we're live. What is that about? Okay. Looking good. Got the right camera. Now the next thing I got to test is this. Beautiful. Alrighty then. As y'all are hopping in the Facebook Live feed this morning, smash that like button a couple times, please. We started off late, so we need to pick up a little juice. Juice. And if you feel so inclined, hit share as well. .615 at Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. Hey, Breland, have we made those rolling right along t-shirts yet?
Not yet, but we need to get on it.
I know. We need a rolling right along t-shirt. I was told this. This wasn't my idea. I was told, somebody said, I want a rolling right along t-shirt. Because apparently I say that all the time. Do what?
Your finger up. It has to be you with your finger up. You know how you always start the show off finger up in the air? It has to be that.
Start my show with a finger in the air. What do I...
No, not like that. But when you're sitting there.
Only when I'm mad at you. I mean, that's... Which finger are we talking about here?
Not the bird, but that'd be cool too.
It's actually it's my whole hand. It's my whole hand. I don't know why I do that. I don't know where I picked that up, but it's like I'm waving at the camera or something.
Okay,
it's like
well, let's do that.
It's like I'm giving the signal to the camera, like the camera is sentient, and I can tell the camera we're good now. I don't know why I do that. It is silly, but it is one of those things. All right, we'll get that up over at. What's the website? 929 Misfits? Is that where we're at?
929, or it's at 949. No, 929 Misfits.
It's our address, 929. So
yes,
yeah. All right, 929 Misfits. So we'll get that up at some point. I just keep procrastinating on it. I don't know why. In the meanwhile, it is sports time, and the Pelicans introduced their new coach yesterday. They officially welcomed Jamal Mosley as the new head coach. He coached the Orlando Magic for the last 5 seasons, leading them to the playoffs in the last 3 seasons. And earlier this month, they nearly knocked off the Eastern Conference top seed in the Detroit Pistons before just gloriously coming apart. I mean, it was ridiculous. They were up 3-1. Mosley says he likes what he sees in his new team. Cut 14, please.
Guys that can make plays, they can make passing, shooting, defensively, sitting down and guarding multiple positions. But that versatility of guys says a lot.
Mosley says he especially likes what he sees in Zion Williamson, who he says hasn't scratched the surface of what he can do for the Pelicans in the NBA.
Some of the things he's done here have been obviously spectacular. And so just making sure that we continue that along with us being healthy.
Just, okay. I mean, he hasn't scratched the surface yet, but will he? How many years does it take to scratch a surface? I remember watching Zion's first game with the Pelicans. Oh my goodness gracious! It was from Washington Mardi Gras. Like we were up at Washington Mardi Gras. It was the first time we went to Washington Mardi Gras. Oh my word! So yeah, it's like if you haven't done it yet, what makes you think you can do it? Now, believe me, I think he can. I do think he can, but it's going to take a lot to get over that hump for sure. Mosley also says he's ready to fully embrace the New Orleans culture. Cut 16.
It keeps you on the floor. It gives you an opportunity every single night, no matter what is happening. Shots falling, shots not falling. You give your chance a chance to compete, yourself a chance to compete every single night by defending at a high level.
Well, you know what? That was the wrong cut. Was that 16 or 17?
That was 16.
Interesting. It has a different text on this side. No worries at all, though, because what we're looking at right now is a changing of the guard in many fronts in New Orleans. You could be a lot more positive about one than the other, but you look at what's going on with the surgence of Tyler Shuck at the end of last season with the Saints and where they're headed, and you can have a reasonable amount of positivity there. Then you could look at Mosley coming in with the Pelicans and think to yourself, same you-know-what, different day, because the results have always been the same. With the Saints, we've seen results on the winning side. We've seen the promised land. We've seen 2009 and beating the Colts in the Super Bowl. We've seen what could have been a second Super Bowl for Drew Brees and Sean Payton, if not for the Nolan no call. We've seen what great success. We've seen what great success looks like from the Saints. We've never seen that from the Pelicans. So a changing of the guard as it's being introduced. Of course, he's going to say all the right things. Nobody loses the introductory press conference. But it is difficult to look at what they've got going on and feel any level of like hyper positivity like today is going to be different. So 6:20, here's the Fox Business Report. Troy says I recommended roll and red along neck rolls. I like that.
God.
Like an airplane pillow? Or like an old school Lawrence Taylor shoulder pad neck roll? All right. Get my feedback under me here. Cade Wazian sent promos, so I need to read promos. Instructions for Moon Griffon in studio. Well, I'll be on.
Today, right?
Yeah, well, I'll be up here. Can't really do a whole lot with that, can I? Ooh, we're doing Rad Dad again?
We are.
Okay. Oh, that's humbling. I'll start off the show by saying if you're so inclined, please share it. And nobody does. Womp womp.
Oh my God.
I know. They just hate me. I don't know why people hate me. Kidding, Facebook. Just joking.
All right, almost to you, traffic.
All right.
When you're ready.
I always feel so awkward doing this when I'm not in studio because it's like I'm away from it. Didn't have to worry about it yesterday for some obvious reasons, but back at it. Here's what we got from the Talk 107.3 Traffic Center. We're actually looking really, really good this morning. Your normal congestion or your normal volume up by Denham Springs on I-12 westbound, not there. And I would imagine that's going to be the trend throughout the summer since schools aren't in and people's schedules change, vacations happen, and the like. We're looking good on 12 West. We're looking good on 10 West coming in from Ascension Parish. 10 East coming over from West Baton Rouge Parish looks great. And on your surface streets, there's only one accident to look out for, and it's not going to bother anybody's morning drive because, A, it's already off the roadway, and B, it's 79th Avenue at Somerset. That's not exactly the Essett Perkins intersection. So that's what we're looking at traffic-wise from the Talk 107.3 Traffic Center. 623, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. Hey, the Rad Dad Contest is officially back. Citizens Bank and Trust brings you Dad's favorite gifts ever. A Weber Traveler Grill, plus accessories, thanks to Goodwood Hardware, a steak dinner from Chris's Specialty Foods, and a Manly Bayou bundle from Hawk Soap. What is that? Love that.
Just a big old thing of soap.
It's just a big old thing of soap, just manly soap.
Maybe even cologne. And
okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'm here for it. I'll buy all the way just for showing us your rad dad doing dad things. What does that mean? Take a picture of dad or take a picture of husband who's also dad, doing dad things. You name it. Cutting the grass, working the grill, Crocs with socks, whatever the case might be. Your dad doing dad things. Upload the pics to talk1073.com. Happy Father's Day from Citizens Bank and Trust and Talk 107.3 FM. Breland, what are dad things? What do you consider dad things?
I was going to say if dad rolls right along.
Oh, no. How about falling asleep in front of the ball game?
Oh, my gosh. Yes.
Falling asleep and then not claiming to be asleep.
Oh, yes.
How about resting your eyes?
Yep, resting your eyes. Or saying I'll get around to it, and next thing you know, he's snoring in the recliner.
Okay, there was a little bit of bitterness in there. I feel like your hubs has got a honey-do list that still needs to be worked on.
He does.
Understood.
What's another dad thing?
Dad things.
Mowing the lawn when it's raining outside.
While it's raining. Yes, absolutely. While it's raining. Trying to get it in before, I don't think the worst is coming down yet.
Right. Next thing you know, like a monsoon.
Yeah. It's the over exuberance at the Little League game.
Yes.
Sure, we can find a few more as we roll on. We've got until June 12th to get this done. So your dad doing dad things, the Rad Dad Contest is back. Submitted at talk1073.com. We got a couple different spots we can go here, but there's one that I just really want to. Over on Facebook, or maybe this was on, no. This was originally on Twitter, then moved over to Facebook. Melinda DeLatte tweeted, or X'd, or whatever it's called. Senate votes 28-10 for Republican Mike Boeheim's constitutional amendment to limit anyone elected Louisiana governor to 2 terms rather than the current system of 2 concurrent terms. House is already approved, and the tweet goes on from there. Former Governor John Bell Edwards sounds off and says, I think this is what the kids call living in somebody's head rent-free. So I had to put this back on Facebook and with my caption saying, I think this is what the kids call having main character vibes. Mike Boeheim's bill isn't about any one particular person in particular. It's about Louisiana's history overall and wanting to right that ship a little bit. Wanting to make sure that 2 terms is all you need. I do, however, absolutely adore the fact that Governor John Bell Edwards thinks this is about him and him alone. Former Governor John Bell Edwards thinks this is about him and him alone. He says, I think this is what the kids call living in somebody's head rent-free. Gotta tell you, had Boeheim on about this bill. I think I've had him on twice about this bill. Edwards' name has never been, John Bell Edwards' name was never mentioned. I did ask about, setting the tone for the future and could this come back to haunt us if we have someone in the future who wants more than 2 terms. But this wasn't, I don't think this was about anybody in particular. And if you know State Representative Mike Boeheim, who is from St. Bernard Parish, by the way, if you know State Representative Mike Boeheim, he's kind of the resident historian over there at the state capitol. He's kind of the go-to for all the little nuggets. In fact, when it comes to America 250, he's kind of leading the way on that because he knows all the ins and outs and all the little bitty nuances and tidbits and trivia and factoids about Louisiana's history. So, no, I don't think this one is specifically about Governor John Bell Edwards. But thank you again for playing. Do we have time here? Yes, we do. We got 2 minutes. Okay, I want to go back to the story that was in Top Stories and Trending because we're not going to have Top Stories and Trending next hour. We're going to have Kelly Schultz from New Orleans and Company stopping by. But I do want to go back to the story that we had about the renovations. once again, Baton Rouge Police Chief T.J. Morris has asked the Baton Rouge Metro Council to approve an agreement between his department and the U.S. Department of Homeland Security to secure north of $1 million in funding for renovations at BRPD headquarters, including an added space for the federal agency. According to Morris, DHS would give $1,157,000 to renovate approximately 9,000 square feet of office space. The agreement requires that, as part of the renovations, BRPD add a space for a new multi-agency Homeland Security task force to operate out of. According to Morse's letter, the federal task force would work with local and state law enforcement to target, quote, violent crime and group violence, aka gang violence. I added the gang violence part. The agreement is on tonight's Metro Council meeting agenda. I got to tell you all, I absolutely love this. If for no other reason, then we have the space, we have the room, we have the facilities. If they want to pony up the dollars, absolutely. We've got the room to do it. And oh, by the way, even with the police pay raise and the added interest in becoming BRPD, there's not a time where Baton Rouge Police Chief T.J. Morris is going to turn down help. And if the Department of Homeland Security wants to come in here and knock out gang violence, yes, that's my term, the term I'm using, not them, group violence. If he wants to roll into town, if the DHS wants to roll in town and do that, I'm all for it, because that is when you talk about the difference between being safe and feeling safe, that is one of the biggest differences out there, is when you have group violence, violent crime, it really, really makes you feel less safe when statistically it's not, a huge number. It's 6:30. Here's news. We good?
Yep, we're good.
Yeah, about 4 minutes, 5 minutes. We're good.
Goodness.
It would give other schools a competitive advantage, and also it somewhat protects the players as well. That's the purpose of it.
Yeah, I'll move it all over when they're all on. So, thank you.
Yeah, well, we just put a piece of paper. I think I hope they already told our chief operations. Yes. Maybe it'll be
Right behind. Like I want to come out here, just draw them out this way. That'll be in the background.
that would be.
It's good for the department, right?
So far, our backups have been pretty minimal. If you're traveling I-10 in through Kenner and Metairie, we are starting to see a bit more volume crossing over Rain and onto the Amite River Bridge, but no major accidents, breakdowns there to contend with. Our team continues to move along very well, light volume there, and no major accident response on board. And if you see traffic problems, dial pound 250, keyword Baton Rouge Prep. I'm ready to know.
This report is sponsored by Blindster.com.
Hi, I'm Kyle at Blindster. Buying custom blinds shouldn't be complicated or stressful. That's why we make it simple and affordable. You measure, you install, you save big on custom blinds. Order in 6 minutes, installation is easy, and we guarantee they'll fit. Blindster.com.
This report comes to you from the Talk 107 Center.
At Unique Aesthetics and Wellness, go talk CNN Discord, always $8 a unit at myuniqueaesthetics.com.
Moon Griffon.
For 5 years, he beat the man into the ground. Never vote for him. He needs to drop out of the race. He lost the presidency, the House, and the Senate, and he just on and on and on. Then all of a sudden, we get to January 2026. My man, Trump voted for this. Trump did this. Trump did that. Trump did this. Trump did that. All of a sudden, 2 days after he get his butt whipped, he's anti-Trump again. That's psycho.
The Moon Griffon Show. Weekday mornings from 9 to noon on Talk 107.3.
Yeah, crawfish lovers. Ever wonder what it takes to get those crawfish from? Well, it starts right here at home, but Louisiana chemical industry. From propane to pots to paper towels, Louisiana industry is hard at work manufacturing the resources needed to bring their crawfish to a boil. So next time you're enjoying some hot and juicy crawfish, remember, it's more than a meal. It's a celebration of our local industry. For more information, visit the Louisiana Chemical Association at lca.org. I'm the Brian.
Talk 107.3 Weather.
The weather is expected to get pretty active, especially as we move into the afternoon and evening hours.
And let's hear you real quick.
Okay.
Yeah,
Sound
you're good to go.
Okay. Oh yeah, I hear myself.
Numerous showers and storms are expected into the afternoon, keeping with high temperatures in the middle 80s. I'm meteorologist Baker Rogers with your show. WBOZ, Jim.
Sharper Sound. Smarter Talk. Talk 107.3 in HD on 100.7 HD2.
Right. .636 Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. Getting right back into our content here, getting right back into the Teacher Leader Summit in exactly 60 seconds. Got to remind you about the folks over at Landmark Bank, landmarkbankla.com. Been a community bank since 1897, literally half the lifespan of the United States of America. That's a long time to remain true to a mission, especially a mission that takes value in people. People that you live near, people that are you see in line at the grocery store, you see in carpool and whatnot, people who you can shake hands with, sit down with, map out your future, plan out your future. When you're talking about borrowing, when you're talking about saving, when you're talking about investing, if you're talking about something as simple as starting your kid's first checking account, Landmark Bank is here for you. Learn more at landmarkbankla.com, landmarkbankla.com. Okay, last year, right on the show, in fact, we had Dr. Misty Davis on with us, the Executive Director of Attendance Strategy for the Louisiana Department of Education. And Misty launched the Power of Presence at the Teacher Leader Summit last year. We're here again. Misty, Dr. Davis, welcome back. How are you?
Oh, I'm great. Thanks for having me.
No, glad to have you back on here. Glad to be talking about this. Tell me a little bit about what that looked like in real terms so far.
So our work has been heavily field-based, and so we did launch the Power of Presence, and that's a guidance document and a landing page and some resources and tools for schools and systems to use. But we know you can't just make a pretty document and make a flashy, splashy landing page. We're grateful for those things, but we've actually been in the field helping people implement and understand, what the work looks like. And we have different contexts around the state. Our parishes look very different, and so helping people digest what we're asking them to do, but then figure out exactly what it looks like in their particular context.
Okay, so what does it look like? I mean, and we'll get to individual contexts if you want, but just start with the 10,000-foot view, then we can zoom in.
Right. So at the state level, we have taken, this past year, we've had a 3-tiered approach. So we've provided universal support for everyone, then some intermediate support that's a little more hands-on with systems, and then intensive support that's our highest level of support. And so as we've taken that approach, we've asked systems to tier their schools based on data and determine which schools maybe need more support than others. And then we've asked schools to tier their students that might need more attendance support. And so it's really looking at data, determining what our needs are, determining what some attendance barriers are, and then creating and then pairing targeted interventions and solutions to address those concerns.
What do some of the let's start with the problems before we get to the interventions.
Okay.
What are some of the main problems that we're seeing?
Well, so we're trying to combat both truancy and chronic absenteeism, which we talked about those things last year, which both reflect children not being in school. And so there's obviously illness and those things.
Sure.
But then we also have transportation can be an issue. Family dynamics and responsibilities can be concerns. Student disengagement can be a problem. And so really figuring out, okay, we identify which students are absent, but then gathering some more information, having conversations, determining why they're absent so that we can pair some targeted solutions there.
I'm trying to remember who I was talking with yesterday from Bessie about this. And
Dr. Clark.
I think it was Dr. Clark, because I asked a follow-up question to exactly just about that same answer. Are we able to establish what's an excuse and what's a reason?
Yeah, that's a good question. So it's really about building relationships, being collaborative, and when we go into a conversation with a student or with a parent, we want to approach it with, what's the concern? What's keeping you out of school? Because there are some legitimate,
Absolutely, I'm sure there are.
Yes.
But we don't just accept every answer, do we?
Right. And so when you start talking to people and you understand that maybe a child feels like they've gotten into a learning hole that it's hard to climb out of, and so that feels intimidating. So then how does the school work with that student and that parent to say, here's a plan, here's a scaffold to help you get out of this hole that maybe you feel like you're in. If there's some lack of engagement, how do we connect them with clubs and organizations on campus or work-based learning? We've got some really amazing high school opportunities.
Yes, we do.
How do we connect kids to those things? How do we connect them to an adult on campus that checks in? So there's research behind what we're promoting, but we need to know the cause and the barrier so that we can put a strategic solution to it and not just a blanket solution.
How tough can the school get? I understand we can have a role, we can have a map, we can have a wonderful homepage and whatnot, but when it comes to the muscle end to get them physically back at school, how tough can the schools get?
So it's been there's some statute behind what we're doing, and so we can rely on that. And so there's some things that have to happen. At the third unexcused absence or tardy within a semester, we're required to send a formal letter, and that letter is, we say we want it to be reaching out to start the conversation about, hey, your child's missed some school. Let's talk about it. But then that letter is supposed to be followed with a conference to figure out what is happening. And we document all of that. If a child gets to a fifth unexcused absence or tardy in a semester, and we've got documentation of these steps that we've taken, that is actually when FINS referrals or local judicial referrals come into play. And that's something that we're focusing on. We focused on this year. We're really going to have even a more increased focus in the upcoming year about collaboration between those school and system leaders and those judicial partners and FINS officers so that we can work together to help families and children get what they need so kids can get back into class.
So about a year in, what kind of data set do we have? What kind of impact are we showing?
So we do have internal data that we monitor regularly, and we're seeing trends in the right direction. We'll have some data, official cleaned up data published later this summer, and we're looking forward to that. But we've laid a lot of groundwork this year, and so as every educator does, I think at this point now, I'm really looking forward to the upcoming year, and because we've built a lot of common understandings, a lot of language expectations across the state, and so we have seen some progress. I'm looking forward to even more progress in the upcoming year.
Now, attendance is going to be a big topic tomorrow.
Yes,
Teacher Leader Summit.
Yes.
what can folks expect to hear when if they're still in attendance tomorrow?
So, well, we're really excited. So we're going to have judicial partners and educators in the room together, and that's exciting. And even some of our Bessie members are going to be there because they've been so supportive of this work. And so we are going to talk about the progress we've made this year, some things that we've done, work that we've done this year. But then based on what we've learned, how we're looking ahead to the upcoming year. And then the Storm Ellers from the Supreme Court that works under Chief Justice Weimer, she's also going to do a presentation, same concept. What have they learned with their FINS work this year, and what are things that we want to refine looking forward, and what does that collaboration look like? Okay. So a reflection, but looking ahead.
Now, that being said, you talked about looking ahead. What are the goals for next year?
So we have are continuing to set our goals to work on at least a 2% reduction in chronic absenteeism and truancy, but also we want our team's focus. There's 3 of us on our team, is fidelity of implementation of the power of presence. We've done some refining in that document, and so this year we've worked directly with 19 systems that were receiving some of that tiered support. We've 74 LEAs have gotten funding for the upcoming year, so we're really expanding our reach with LEAs? Some local education agencies. School district, traditional and charter school systems. Okay. And sorry for the jargon. Okay. And so we're going to be expanding our reach with direct contact with some systems. So we'll still have that universal support that's available to everyone, but actually have some even more touch points with individual systems.
I want to go back to an earlier topic. We had we'll get less than 2 minutes ago, okay. But I do want to go back to an earlier topic. Have we determined what is the main? I know you said there's numerous reasons, but is there one that trumps everything else?
No, I would love to tell you that there's one main reason and we can focus in on that, but children and families are different. Contexts around our state are different. And so, so there's some usual suspects, like I said, illness, transient populations, homelessness, disengagement. There's some things that we know, but it's, children are different. Yeah. And so
children communities are different. And so the distance to school and the ability to get there is different. And the parental buy-in can be different from one spot to another as well. So
I can't give you just one.
But that's a fair answer though.
Yes.
So so we're looking at another 2% in the upcoming year is the next goal. Is there an ultimate goal? Like, is there you're going to see diminishing returns at some point?
Right. Which is hard for me to admit.
Well, either way, we're on the right path to be sure. So, going to be a big topic tomorrow, talking about attendance, talking about chronic absenteeism, truancy, and the like. She is Dr. Misty Davis. Thank you so much for a couple minutes this morning.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely,
appreciate it.
Always. So we're off and running now. We're going to talk literacy and numeracy coming up in just a little bit. Before we hit that break, though, want to remind you about America 250. This year, we're celebrating America's 250th birthday, and we want you to be a part of it. Open the Talk 1073 app, powered by Lake Urgent Care. Click the microphone icon and send us a voicemail answering one simple question. What does America mean to you? Your story could inspire others and be featured on air as we honor this historic milestone together. Keep it short, about 15, 20 seconds long. Give us your name and where you're from. Send us your audio today and let your voice be part of the celebration. We are due up for a quick break. Like I said, we're talking literacy and numeracy next on Talk 1073. I ran us along by about 5 seconds.
Yeah, but that's okay.
Okay. All right. landmarkbankla.com. Okay, last year. So we're 12 minutes this morning.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely.
Unity Health Solutions is guiding healthcare forward, partnering with healthcare organizations nationwide to elevate patient experience and drive growth. From urgent care and emergency rooms to specialty care. Visit unityhealth.com today to get started.
It's looking good this season. I think so. Man, I miss playing football. Ever since I turned 40, I just can't find that fire I used to have. Then you could be loaded lower testosterone? What do you mean? I was feeling the same way. After 40, the body has less testosterone, and then use the wrench. That's why I take Eugenics Total T2. That's the testosterone booster, right? Yes, for Total T2 with a brand new formula. It's nitric oxide levels in as little as 3 hours. Since I started taking it, I've been looking like when we played for Coach Carter. My energy is way up, and it even spikes up things between me and the listeners. Are they still giving out complimentary bottles? Yep, just send me text. Text SPARK to 215215 for your complimentary bottle of Eugenics Total T2, the next generation testosterone booster. Text now and we'll include a bottle of Eugenics Thermo X, our newest, most powerful fat burner ever, absolutely free. Text SPARK to 215215. That's SPARK to 215215. Looking for a real estate closing partner in Baton Rouge that offers mobile closing services? Mid-City Title, midcitytitle.com. Now a check on your drive from the Talk 107.3 Traffic Center.
Just like there's a summer weather pattern, there's also a summer rain pattern. And that pattern is a lot less 40 drive traffic out there, particularly on the so at the moment, both I-10 and I-12 are moving with very minimal of any backups to get through and to drive with no major accidents on the board either. And we see traffic problems on pounds and 50 keywords that lose traffic. I'm Ray Romero. This report is sponsored by Blindster.com. Hi, I'm Kyle in Blindster. Buying custom blinds shouldn't be complicated or stressful. That's why we make it simple and affordable. You measure, you install, you stay gig on custom blinds. Ordering 6 minutes, it's easy, and guaranteed don't pay. Blindster.com.
This report comes to you from the Talk 107.3 Traffic Center.
Rated off here. When it comes to a free lifetime one, but it's going to back down. And then
Girl.
All right. Yep. Everybody's got volume. Good to
Hello.
go?
Yes.
Yeah,
Hello.
You're good. You're good. You're good. One more time.
Hello. Hello.
The rollback will go away.
Okay. Am I supposed to hear y'all?
It's 652 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Where's the Brian Haldane rolling right along? Going to get you to ABC News here in about 7.5 minutes, which gives us not a whole lot of time. So let's get right to it. We've got Shanna Bieber and Jamie Aber, and with us we're talking literacy and numeracy, aka reading and math. Welcome. How y'all doing this morning?
Great. Doing well.
Glad to have y'all in. We have seen some recent rankings. We're quickly moving up the charts. The 2026 Education Recovery Scorecard ranked Louisiana number 1 in the nation for reading growth and number 2 for math growth, and the only state to surpass where we were before COVID. So let's talk about it. What's in the secret sauce?
Well, I think it's a comprehensive strategy and one that we don't let down on. We know what works to teach children how to read and do math. And we put that approach and we work from all angles, from our families to our teachers to our leaders, everyone who is close to our children, and get the work done.
You mentioned families that we're going to circle back to that in just a quick second, but Jamie, I want to ask you a little bit about what goes into the strategy. Like break it down by by number, if you will.
Yeah, so we really focus on making sure that all kids experience the grade level expectation of the standards and that we are addressing their needs individually while still holding them to that grade level work. We also provide comprehensive supports to the people that are doing the hard work in the classrooms and the leaders that live this with kids every day. And so we're just really proud of the work that we're doing.
What does that mean in real life terms when you're getting out in the field? I mean, to go from the home office to the school district to the school to the classroom, what does that look like in terms of physically getting out there?
So we have a team on the math side and the literacy side that are living in the field every day, bringing the support and training directly to teachers. Look, teacher life is hard.
Yes.
And they're working really hard. And so we're just there to be able to work beside them and job embedded learning so that they can just hone their craft every day and really impact kids. So
are we doing it different than other states, or are we just doing it better than other states?
More focused, probably.
Okay.
So we have our field staff is a strategic arm of our agency, really scaling out our message in a very focused way in line with the science of reading and all the literacy work that Shanna's team does and all of the numeracy work that our team does. And we've had over 2,000 direct visits to schools and systems this year with a team of less than 20 that work in the field.
Wow. It does take focus.
And that doesn't include all of our emails and phone calls and chats in the evenings when you see someone out at dinner in a restaurant.
Well, let's talk about that, though, because when it comes to that level, and you mentioned families a minute ago, this is where I'm going to bring it back up again, is when you talk about getting down to the family level, it takes buy-in, it takes availability, and it takes understanding. Like they have to not only believe in teaching their kids at home, but have the availability, meaning they're not at work all night. And then on the third part of that is have the ability to do so. So how hard is it to get all three?
It's not that hard when our teachers and leaders work alongside of them as well. And so we've had some amazing work done this past year where schools are bringing families in and they're showing them how to do this work.
Okay.
But it's also some of the simple things like put down the phones, put down the iPads, turn off the TV and have conversations. Just conversations, building vocabulary, going outside and talking about the world around you and building background knowledge. Those little things make such a big difference.
I love that you think that's simple. No, I'm just kidding. We're talking with Shanna Bieber, Executive Director of Literacy for the Department of Education, and Jamie Aber, Executive Director of Numeracy. Jamie, is it harder on the math front than it is on the reading front?
I think that there's a perception on the math front that math isn't for everybody. And how many times do you go out and you hear people say, oh, I'm not a math person? You won't hear anybody say I'm not a reading person.
Right.
Right. And so I think that there's a perception that math is just hard and I can either do it or not do it. And really like the conversation piece Shanna just mentioned in literacy and background knowledge is really important in math too. Like when you're with young children in the grocery store, there's so much math you can talk through them. That's just everyday application.
Well, I mean, but there is some truth in like the way kids are taught math today is not the way I was taught math when I was coming up.
I think that we're just teaching them how to think about it rather than teaching them to memorize a process.
Yeah.
And that's the big key difference is being able to voice the thinking that each kid is going through rather than step one, do this, step two, do that. And that way kids can build meaning rather than just process understanding.
Let's get back into the field work a little bit because I'm reading that more than 2,000 school and system visits are had over the school year. I mean, how can y'all get all that in with such a small team?
It's also working with our school leaders.
Okay.
And so it's building the capacity of our school system leaders to support their leaders who support our teachers. Our teachers are in the classroom every day doing the hard work. And we want to make sure that they have all the knowledge they need around teaching kids on a daily basis. And so it's really about building the capacity of our leaders to continue that work because we can't be in the classroom every day with every teacher, but they can be.
All right. So we got 2 minutes left. I want to pivot the focus to the future, because what y'all have done is amazing. It's absolutely amazing work. Now we get greedy. How do we get more? How do we stay number one and number two? Or how do we get to number one and number one? Like, are we going to start to see diminishing returns at some point where there's only so much, there's only 50 states. You can only move up so many times. So how do we keep our foot on the gas?
So for me, it's not always about just the ranking itself across states. It's about ensuring that every student is getting what they need. And so that consistent messaging, that consistent approach across every classroom. So no matter what zip code, what classroom, what school you're in, you are getting high quality instruction.
On your end?
On my end, it's following in literacy's footsteps, making sure that we have a coherent system at every level. So our strategy is a couple years behind. So getting into some of the more strategic work around tutoring and meeting kids with special need, not just special needs, but like kids with specific needs, and teaching people how to address those in math.
Less than a minute to go. Your quick advice for families that want to help their kids with reading and math. We'll start with Shanna.
Open a book and have conversations.
Okay, that's easy. Jamie?
Teach them math is cool. Every kid really can be a math kid, and we just have to teach them to believe that.
Shanna Bieber, Jamie Hebert, Director of Literacy and Numeracy for the Louisiana Department of Education. Thank you all so much for a couple minutes this morning.
Thank you for having us.
We are due up for news at the top of the hour. When we come back, going to step away from the Department of Education Teacher Leader Summit. We're going to talk a little bit about New Orleans and Company. We're going to talk about being built to host as we are here in the Morial Convention Center. We'll get back into it right after that, though. But quick break for news, traffic, and weather. Mornings with Brian Haldane will continue next right here on Talk 107.3 FM. We good?
Yep, we're good.
Cool. Brian Haldane rolling right along. Going to get you to ABC News here in a half minutes, which gives us not a whole lot of time. So let's get right to it. We've got Shanna Bieber. And with us, we're talking not a whole lot of time. So let's get right to it. We've got Shanna Bieber and Jamie Hebert, and with us, we're talking literacy news at the top of the hour. We are due up for Louisiana Department of Education. Thank you all so much for a couple minutes this morning.
Thank you for having us.
check on your drive from the Talk 107.3 Traffic Center.
It took a little while, but I'm back up to the building now. We're seeing 20 minutes from UNC to 212. Split out of 10. We're still moving along nicely. Prairies on the Highland. That's just 5 minutes and 12 ahead of that. Highland up to the bridge. Really aren't seeing any major accident spots at this point into and out of the Baton Rouge area. And if you see traffic problems, pound 250, keyword Baton Rouge traffic. I'm Raymond Merrill.
This report is sponsored by Blindster.com.
Hi, I'm Kyle in Blindster. Buying custom blinds shouldn't be complicated or stressful. That's why we make it simple and affordable. You measure, you install, you save big on custom blinds. Order in 6 minutes, installation is easy, and you guarantee they'll fit. Blindster.com.
This report comes to you from the Talk 107.3 Traffic Center.
Look fresh, feel fierce, tops, lasers, tightening, and more at Unique Aesthetics and Wellness. Schedule now at myuniqueaesthetics.com.
Talk 107.3 Weather.
The weather is expected to get pretty active, especially as we move into the afternoon and evening hours. A flood watch has been issued in advance of a heavy rain threat we're going to see later on today. You cannot rule out some isolated instances of flash flood. But for this morning, we're going to see some patchy areas of fog out there. As we head towards the middle of the day, some rain chances are really going to increase. Numerous showers and storms are expected into the afternoon and evening with high temperatures in the middle 80s. I'm meteorologist Bateman Rogers with your storm station forecast. WBOZ Channel 2.
Brian, when you're ready.
How are we looking?
Go ahead when you're ready.
7:05, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. Hour 2 coming your way right now. Brian here with you, Bree Lynn back in studio as we're not in the friendly confines of the 180 Pro studio. By the way, if you get the chance, visit 180pros.com. Not your IT provider, your IT partner, specifically for small business. No, we're not in the friendly confines of the 180 Pro studio. We're in the friendly confines of the Morial Convention Center down in New Orleans for the Louisiana Department of Education's Teacher Leader Summit. But I do want to step away from the Leader Summit for just a little bit to talk about, well, not just the building we're in, but the city we're in right now. Kelly Schultz with New Orleans and Company, sitting to my left right here. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. Welcome to New Orleans.
It's what, third trip in this year, so yeah, it's such a fantastic city on so many different levels. I want to talk a little bit about being here, like seeing this conference run and seeing it run with the level of smoothness that it does. It's like a duck on the water, I'm sure. Like from our perspective, everything is smooth sailing, but you know the you get the feet paddling underneath for sure. Talk to me a little bit about what it takes to pull something like this conference off.
Well, it is quite an accomplishment, and our team here are complete experts. So New Orleans and Company and the Convention Center work very closely together to bring these meetings to the city. First of all, to convince them to choose New Orleans is the first step. And this venue that we are sitting in, the Morial Convention Center, is an iconic building, and it takes an army of professionals and people to pull off events like this. But we consistently receive awards of excellence for execution, for lead certification, for really being able to, no matter what the group is or what their needs are, really being able to accommodate them and do it in a way that is seamless. As you said, people have been working on this for weeks and weeks to set up, but once the guest arrives, it is seamless and a very positive experience for them.
Yesterday at the opening of the Teacher Leader Summit, LSU women's basketball coach Kim Mulkey gave the opening address. Weekend before last, Kim Mulkey was in this building before scouting basketball players. The Nike Open was here, which is as I understand it, it's a unbelievably great tournament. My daughter's team was in it. My daughter was not there, but This building housed what, 36 basketball courts just 2 weeks ago?
It did. And this building has housed so many things. I mean, we do everything here from the National Association of Automobile Dealers, where vehicles are brought into the building. We host major medical conventions with major medical exhibits. We have done, aircraft, any kind of thing you can imagine, any industry. This building is equipped for. It's one of the largest and best convention centers in the country, and it continues to get better. We're in the midst of a $700 million renovation now. That's going to make it even better. And
wait, where's that happening?
It's happening throughout the building.
Okay.
So a lot of upgrades. You'll see we're in one of the newer parts now, actually, and you'll see it happening throughout the building. So massive upgrades. This building is been around for many decades, so we constantly want to improve it. And under the leadership of Jim Cook, the president of this facility, a lot of good work is underway.
What's that relationship like? Because y'all go out and sell, and then you come back here and say, make this happen. Like, it's just that there's got to be a little bit of the collaboration has to be magnificent.
There is a lot of collaboration. We are great partners with everyone at this facility at every level, and work with them throughout the process. So before, during the meeting, after the meeting, and wanting to make sure that the customers come back. It is very much of a collaboration, not only with this building, but with the entire hospitality community. If you think of what it takes to pull off an event like this, we need our hotel partners, our restaurant partners. We need security companies, AV professionals, transportation providers, and New Orleans and Company is the link to all of those companies. So what customers tell us is when they come into New Orleans, they really feel that collaboration between the hospitality community. In some cities you go to, the hotels are fighting over the business. Here it's like, we don't care what you choose, just please choose New Orleans.
Right.
And they feel that collaboration.
Well, and it's because of that collaboration, the old phrase, a rising tide lifts all boats, which we've got boats coming to town today.
Exactly.
A rising tide lifts all boats, but it's easy to get selfish and to create your own little fiefdom, but it's the whole can be greater than the sum of its parts.
Exactly. And we like to reinforce just, the economic impact of this building, how many jobs it provides. When people are coming to this building for meetings and conventions, they are also, after their meetings are done, they're going out into the city and enjoying New Orleans, and hopefully they're taking tours or going to music clubs or dining in some of our restaurants, or, perhaps shopping or going to art galleries and museums. So it really is an economic impact for those who are here and all of the businesses that need to be hired to pull off something of this magnitude.
We've got Kelly Schultz from New Orleans and Company on with us for about 4 more minutes. All right, let's pivot over to what's going on right now, or what's starting today. Sail 250 is part of America 250. Sail 250 kicks off today. I got to start by whining a little bit because twice yesterday I walked over past the Riverwalk, past Spanish Plaza, all the way down Waldenburg Park, looking for anybody to have gotten here early. None of these ships got here early.
Well, they're arriving today and tomorrow.
Yes, they're arriving today and tomorrow. Could you?
Well, they are military vessels, so they're pretty precise with their timing.
I just wanted a little content to share back on Talk's Facebook page. That's all.
No, but look, speaking of boats, we are in the midst of Sail 250, and we're really honored that New Orleans is the first city that will welcome these tall ships from all over the world as part of America 250, our country's 250th birthday, which is a huge deal. So we're very honored to be the first city to welcome this nationwide commemoration. Starting today, you're going to see the riverfront right where we are really transformed. You'll see tall ships and U.S. Navy vessels all over the place, and then a series of events kick off, which are free and open to the public. It's very family friendly. Many kids are just getting out of school and starting summer break. So it's a great opportunity to come on down and see something that most people never get a chance to see, which are these really beautiful, impressive ships, and tours are available.
Yeah. And you did say all the tours are free, right?
Correct.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's going to be going on through June 1st?
Goes on through June 1st. And, we have ships and personnel here from, of course, the United States, also Chile, Peru, Colombia, the Netherlands, Argentina, the United Kingdom. So they're going to get a chance to experience a little bit of New Orleans culture when they're here. And again, like this convention center building, massive effort, massive collaboration that it takes to pull off an event of this magnitude. But we like to say that we're built to host, and this is what we do. And again, this particular event, to say that we're the first city to host this nationwide commemoration of our country's birthday is a big honor.
I would be remiss if I didn't let you brag on yourself just a little bit. Talking about Built to Host, got some recognition from the American Advertising Awards. Tell me about it.
We did. We have a very focused marketing and sales effort relating to our convention market and reaching those meeting planners. One of the videos that we did to reach that meeting planner audience recently received some awards from the American Advertising Association called an Addy. It's sort of a famous award in the advertising industry. This particular video won 3 awards, 1 silver, 1 gold, and 1 judge's choice. So we were really honored by that. And also we were very honored that New Orleans and Company was named the best destination marketing organization in the country by an organization called Helms Briscoe, which is a global association of meeting planners. So for them to say, we work with destinations all over the country, and New Orleans is the best of its size in the country, was also very meaningful.
Before we get you out of here, just get a quick preview of what else is to come in the near future here.
Well, we've got Sail 250 this week. We've got the education conference in town. We also have North America's 50 Best Restaurant Awards. So some of the best chefs from around the country and around North America are in New Orleans today, actually. The award ceremony is tomorrow evening. So some of our New Orleans restaurants, I hope, will be recognized. But again, it's a great opportunity to have these prominent, not only chefs and restaurant individuals, but we're hosting a number of national media who are here to cover the awards, the judges for the competition. So some really elite culinary experts are here this week enjoying the city as well. So we pride ourselves on the fact that we can do these multiple events, Sail 250, these conferences and conventions, and something like World's 50 Best, do it seamlessly all within the same few days.
She is Kelly. Oh, and don't forget, midway through June, Pokemon's coming.
That's right. Pokemon is coming. About 6,700 people come for that event. It's a big deal, and they have very, very loyal fans. We love Pokemon.
I am doing my level best to keep this off of my son's radar because I know it's going to be the trip down for the Pokemon conference. She is Kelly Schultz with New Orleans and Company. Thank you for the swag bag.
You're welcome.
Could not have been more valuable because I did not bring an umbrella with me. But you know what? As soon as y'all had an umbrella in there, it hasn't rained.
Now you have a New Orleans and Company umbrella.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Well, we're glad you're here. You're a great partner. Normally we talk over the phone, so it's nice to see you in person.
Likewise, always. Kelly Schultz with New Orleans and Company. We are at 7:15 at Talk 107.3 FM. Quick break when we come back. Last year's Teacher of the Year, Regina Hartley-Beard from Zachary, joining us next. We're good?
Oh, sorry, I'm offline. Now I am. We're good.
Okay.
Talk about not just the building we're in, but the city we're in right now. Kelly Schultz from New Orleans for the Louisiana Department of Education, New Orleans for the Louisiana Department of Education Teacher Leader Summit. But I do want to step away. But the city we're in right now. Building we're in, but the city we're in right now. The city we're in right now. Kelly Schultz from New Orleans and Company.
That's right. Pokemon is coming. Well, we're glad you're here. Nice to see you in person.
Likewise, always. Kelly
Days from 9 to noon on Talk 107.3.
Always.
Now a check on your drive from the Talk 107.3 Traffic Center.
A flood watch has been issued for most of southeast Louisiana, including the Baton Rouge area. That will continue through the evening hours today, although right now, checking radar, there's not a lot of rain around. And more than likely change, though, as we move along. Quiet ride on the interstate system as well. If you're making the drive in on I-12, we are seeing a little slowing around rain and the Indian River Bridge. 90 minutes from Houston to Flint.
This report is sponsored by AutoZone. Get in the zone. Starting stronger starts at AutoZone, where they've got battery solutions in the form of free battery testing, free battery charging, and replacement. Batteries that fit your needs. That's what makes them America's #1 battery destination. Get in the zone. AutoZone. This report comes to you from the Talk 107.3 Traffic Center. Closing on a home, Mid-City Title makes it super simple. Most closing, expert service, midcitytitle.com.
Brian, we're coming back in.
718. Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, morning with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. Broadcasting live from the Department of Education's Teacher Leader Summit. We are getting back into our Teacher Leader Summit content in just a quick second. I do need a moment to remind you about the folks over at Neurojust. Neurojust.com is the website. If you or someone you know or love has been battling with anxiety or depression and has been treatment resistant, what does that mean? It means you don't like the way you feel on the antidepressants. You don't like the prescription meds, or you're seeing diminishing returns from them. Give Neurojust a look. They specialize in TMS therapy, transcranial magnetic stimulation. It's like physical therapy for the brain. If you really want to learn more, visit neurojust.com. Give them a quick look, a quick rundown, or give them a call. The phone number is right there on the website. Battling with anxiety or depression, you know it's that constant 6-foot waves just crashing around in your head. You can help calm those seas and do so with insurance picking up the tab. Learn more at neurojust.com. All right, back into it over here. We've got Regina Hartley-Beard in with us, Louisiana's Teacher of the Year. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing well.
Glad to have you on this morning. You, of course, I mean, we're back in Baton Rouge, not New Orleans, but you're coming from the Zachary Community School District. Let's talk a little bit about being the Teacher of the Year. What has that looked like for your schedule? What does that look like as an honor? What is it done for you?
Oh my goodness. It has been a wonderful and wild ride this year.
Mm-hmm.
I've had some great experiences, some fun ones. Like I was at the Grand Marshal in our hometown parade.
Okay.
So that was fun. I competed in the local Dancing with the Stars competition. So I've had some fun things, but I've also been able to really make an impact on the state side with the Teacher Advisory Council and some Bessie committees. And so it's just been a really wonderful year for me.
Let's talk a little bit about what you teach, because I think this is where the conversation is going to get very, very fun. There's the STEM end for sure, but there's a robotics end as well.
Yes.
To 5th and 6th graders.
Yes.
This is amazing. We're teaching robotics to 5th and 6th graders?
Yes, we are. So I teach 5th grade science, but also 6th grade robotics and STEM.
Mm-hmm.
And so my 5th grade science students, of course, we bring the robots into the curriculum there as well. And so it's a lot of fun to get to introduce them to a lot of the computer science side of life and incorporate that into their everyday learning.
So yesterday we learned who the finalists were, the semifinalists were for this year's Teacher of the Year. Let's take a little walk down memory lane. What was that like when you heard your name at each step along the process?
Amazing, surprising. I still feel a little bit of imposter syndrome. Like I don't deserve to be where I am. But every single step you take, it's a little bit more work because you got to do a little bit more application, but it's a fun process to reflect on who you are as a teacher. I've been teaching 22 years and I kind of knew who I was as a teacher, but to put it into words is very different.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a very reflective process for me that I thoroughly enjoyed. When you stop and think about what is my true goal in teaching? What do I truly feel?
Mm-hmm.
You know it in your heart, but to put it into words is very different. And so I enjoyed that process.
Well, but you're able to take away from that once it's been put into words. And
Right.
it's kind of like developing a family budget. You know where you need to be, but once
Right.
you see it on paper, you can go in that direction even stronger.
Exactly.
Talk to me a little bit about the community of the other finalists and whatnot, because full disclosure, we were at a reception last night that had all the finalists there and whatnot. I sensed a real level of community within there. You teachers talk.
Oh, yes, absolutely. We have a strong community.
In a good way.
Yeah. Well, that was actually the first time that I got to meet them in person.
Okay.
So we met via Zoom, but that's different.
Mm-hmm.
And so getting to see their faces and hug their necks and telling them congratulations in person was so much fun. And just talking through the application process and reminiscing for me, because I was there, just a year ago. So I know exactly what they're feeling.
We're talking with Regina Hartley Beard from I keep saying Zachary Community School District. You're with Copper Mill, right?
Yes, but it's in the Zachary Community.
No,
School
I
District,
understand that. I just want to give attribution where it 100% needs to be.
That's right.
Let's talk about teaching a little bit and what changes we've seen recently. We talk so much about the numbers, the statistics, and whatnot, but there's been this overall mantra for the last 2 years now of just letting teachers teach. What does that look like in real life? I mean, you've been teaching 22 years. What does it look like? How does it make a difference to let teachers teach?
Well, I'm very lucky at Copper Mill and in the Zachary School District that most of the recommendations we were already doing. In fact, when I was on the Let Teachers Teach panel and hearing some of these teachers talk about some of the things that they were experiencing in their classrooms, I knew it was happening, but I was also shocked. Like, what do you mean we're not removing disruptive students, from the classrooms? That's happened for me this whole time. How are your students learning? And so it was just powerful to hear all of these people from all around the state, a large panel of teachers who are seeing things that were in common, and for us to be able to have actionable things and make real change in the state of Louisiana is so powerful.
See, this matters because even though you were able to do it at your school, but to be able to see it statewide, are you able to converse with peers and get to know, for those that didn't have that advantage beforehand?
Yeah, cell phone use was one of the biggest ones because that was an immediate, okay, this is something that we can easily do. And so removing cell phones from the classroom was a huge one that has a huge impact, positive for students. I had a panel talk yesterday about this, and one of the principals said that her students were like, well, what are we going to do during lunch today? And the principal said, you're going to talk to one another. And so, you're seeing students' faces instead of the top of their heads because they're not looking down at their phones. And so, going through COVID and the whole social aspect of it, these students need some face-to-face time. And so taking away that barrier, cell phones, I think has been amazing.
How difficult was it? I mean, was it did they take to it like a duck to water, or was there a bit of a withdrawal period like an addict?
I think it was a little bit of both, but once you set that boundary and you set that expectation, and now that they're used to it, they're not going to know any different. And so I think it's a positive change for sure.
We got just a couple minutes left with Regina Hartley Beard, Louisiana's Teacher of the Year. Let's pivot over to the conference real quick. You mentioned giving a panel talk, but from a teacher's perspective, what do you get from the Teacher Leader Summit?
So much. Collaboration is a big one. Like you said, teachers talk. And so we love to be in a room with other like-minded people and just share and learn from one another, but also being able to tailor your sessions and go to the sessions that mean the most to you and are going to impact your students the most is a great thing to be able to do.
Well, let's talk about your session. What were the takeaways?
Well, yesterday I presented about curiosity and STEM. And so sparking curiosity in students and giving them that deep desire of how to learn, and then using STEM to fuel that spark. And so I just gave some examples of how I incorporate STEM into my classroom based on their own curiosity. And then also I did the Let Teachers Teach panel.
So let's talk about that curiosity and STEM just a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't think, especially when you get young, right? You don't need to put limits on kids because they can dream everything that's out there.
Yeah.
What does it look like to take dreams and turn them into reality? Because there are limitations in practice when not so much limitations in what's possible. So how do you manage that with 5th and 6th graders? What do robotics end up looking like?
Yeah, well, and so growing up, science for me was not a subject I loved. It was, read the textbook, memorize it, take the test, move on. And so it didn't feel relevant in my life. And so I want to make sure that my students are seeing this is a concept and it is real and you can experience it outside of the classroom in the real world. And so I love it when students come back and say, hey, I was at the park and I noticed and it made me wonder, and we can start having those conversations. For robots in the classroom, one of the topics we study is apparent brightness of stars. So the sun is the biggest and brightest from our perspective, but it's not really, it's just our perspective.
Okay.
And so we use robots, we land our robots on an asteroid, and we use the light sensor to measure the brightness of light. And so they are simulating looking at 3 different stars And so they're using live data and said, okay, this one has the most light intensity, so it must be the closest. This one has the least light intensity, so it must be the furthest away. So they're using real data and ranking the distance of stars based on apparent brightness.
See, that's so different than any of the science when I was coming up. I mean, we learned all the physical sciences and everything, but it was a lot more about memorization
Exactly.
than it was about exploration or
Right.
creation.
And that's how it was when I started teaching 22 years ago. We had a list of 80 something standards that the students had to memorize.
Yeah.
And they could do that. But then they weren't walking away being critical thinkers. They weren't walking away being scientists. And this way, our list of standards is much shorter, but the thinking and the knowledge is so much deeper, and it's applicable to other situations versus just memorize and dump.
How is it when you see it click? When it clicks with a kid, I mean, it's got to be like, the light bulb comes on.
Yeah, that's my favorite moment when, or if they're even not correct when they're talking, and someone else jumps in and says, but hang on, think about it this way.
Okay.
And the two students are in this discourse back and forth, and I'm just standing back, living my best life, listening to my students talking things through. You don't always have to be right.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to think it through to eventually get there.
Which is so much better than memorizing the noble
Absolutely.
gases.
But those are fun too.
We have different definitions of fun. Regina Hartley Beard's the Louisiana Teacher of the Year. So last thing before we get you out of here, and it's from the top to bottom, from Dr. Brumley through his administration, through LA DOE, all the way down to the teacher level. The theme this year is big ideas start here. Talk to me a little bit about what it takes to get ideas from the teacher level up and vice versa.
Teachers just need to understand that we do have a voice. Don't be afraid to take what you've learned here and disseminate. We don't want to keep that knowledge to ourselves. We want to be able to disseminate it to others, to your cohorts, to your administrator, all the way up to your, your superintendent, because people they're having a good party.
Yesterday it was a drum line. Oh, good Lord.
But yeah, I just want them to spread the love, spread what you've learned here. If you're the only one that was sent here from your school, don't keep it to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Spread what you've learned so that we can help all students in our state.
She is Regina Hartley Beard, Louisiana's Teacher of the Year. Thank you so much for a couple minutes.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. That was also Usher in the background if you missed it. 7:30 at Talk 107.3 FM. News, traffic, weather coming up right now.
That's so funny, y'all.
Search teams looking for 9 people unaccounted for after the rupture of a tank holding toxic chemicals in a paper plant in Washington State. ABC's Lucy Putman. One person confirmed dead was identified by his family as Gilbert Renaud, a grandfather whose son also worked at the mill. Efforts to find other victims have been called off, with the chemicals remaining in the tank make it too volatile. The cause of the rupture unclear. The Associated Press reports the company, Nippon Dynawave, have been fined for health and safety violations. President Trump gathers his cabinet today as talks continue for a possible deal with Iran. This is ABC News. I'm Sharon Burns in the Talk 107.3 Baton Rouge Newsroom. Governor Jeff Landry said there's no logical reason that teachers should not get permanent pay increase. Here's Andy Greenstein.
In announcing that he will ensure that teachers get another $2,000 stipend one way or another, Governor Landry said he wants to know where all the per-student money is being spent because he says it's not being spent on teachers.
The amount that we're spending
Damn.
while the number of students in the district have gone down, it's tremendous.
As you know, in the last 40 years, student enrollment in Louisiana has dropped by more than 100,000, while per-student spending is now up to $16,000, including on teacher salaries. However, he said teacher salaries have failed to keep pace with inflation. I'm Andy Greenstein.
Governor Landry will discuss the Louisiana Fortify Homes program and sign bills this morning at the Capitol. That program allows eligible homeowners to apply for grants to cover costs for strengthening their roofs against hurricane-force winds. That news conference is set for 9:30. A proposal to prevent the public from seeing the revenue share contracts between universities and their athletes has been approved by the Senate. Baton Rouge Senator Franklin
Coyle argued that if other SEC schools knew how much LSU is giving to a particular player, it could give them too much bargaining power. North Dakota Senator Gregory Miller says the state is losing sight of its priorities with this legislation.
The university professors and the university presidents, we all gonna know.
7:30 to talk one.
If you're the only one that's
Usher in the background. 7:30 is Usher in the background.
Trying to protect them.
Oh, that was also Usher in the background.
Artificial Intelligence Factory is coming to Radkeet Parish. Applied Digital Corporation is building it in Boyd. The project means 1,000 construction jobs and 200 direct jobs once the facility's open. Governor Jeff Landry.
You watch too many of your friends that you neighbors leave this state. Today is today we deal with.
I'm John Burns, Talk 107.3.
Now a check on your drive from the Talk 107.3 Traffic Center.
We have picked up our first legit problem of the morning. This is westbound I-12 between Sherwood Forest and Airline. We've got a multiple vehicle crash there. It is blocking the right lane, part of the right center lane as well, but the primary impact is on the far right side. This is contributing to what's now a 25-minute drive from Cuban to the Split, and it's only going to get heavier. I'm Ray Romero.
This report is sponsored by Compassion International. Compassion sponsorship means food, healthcare, education, and most of all, being known, loved, and protected. There are thousands of kids waiting over a year in their wait. Sponsor a child with compassion today. Text the word radio to 83393.
This report comes to you from the Talk 107.3 Traffic Center.
Brandon Oliver here. You want a company that has a true lifetime warranty? ReliefWindows.com, baby.
We're celebrating the dads who do it all. The Rad Dad Contest is officially back. Citizens Bank and Trust brings you dad's favorite gifts ever. A Weber Traveler Grill plus accessories thanks to Goodwood Hardware. A steak dinner from Chris's Specialty Foods. And a manly value bundle from Hog Soap. All just for showing us your Rad Dad doing dad things. Upload pics now at talk1073.com. Happy Father's Day from Citizens Bank and Trust and Talk 107.3.
Retirement comes with lots of questions. How will I create income? What about Social Security, Medicare, taxes, stock market ups and downs? Get your retirement questions answered with Your Money Matters. Saturday mornings at 9 here on Talk 107.3 FM. Want to stay ahead of the competition? Advanced Office Systems provides cutting-edge office training.
How are we looking?
We are about to get into weather.
Okay.
Okay.
This one. Yeah, I could probably pick that other one up. I had two guests at the same time earlier. All right, you got volume now, so
yep.
Yeah, you're good to go. That was about blight? I read the press release. It didn't, like, within the first 4 paragraphs, I had no idea what they were talking about. It's like, but I was also in a rush to get the show started, so that's probably on me. .36, Talk 107.3 FM, WPRP, mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. We are not in the friendly confines of the 180 Pros studio today. We are on the road at the Morial Convention Center for the Department of Education's Teacher Leader Summit. But since I mentioned 180 Pros, let me go ahead and tell you about them a little bit. 180pros.com. Small business owners, give your IT a look real quick. Are you happy with where your network is? Are you happy with who your IT provider is? Would you be happier if you had a full-on IT partner? Someone who bases their success off of your success. Someone who is local to Baton Rouge, so if, God forbid, things drop, things go down, you could have someone physically on site. Someone who is going to give you simplified billing and not nickel and dime you for every interaction and everything along the way. This is what 180 Pros does, and they've done it for years. If you want to learn more, visit 180pros.com. Give them a call, 225-330-2200, 225, because they are local, 330-2200 for 180 pros. All right, we move from the Teacher of the Year to the Principal of the Year. We've got Justin Wax with us from Livingston Parish Public Schools. How are you, Justin?
Fantastic, Brian. Appreciate you having me on the show. And I would say it's a tough act to follow to have Gina on the show before you because everybody loves her. She's
she is pretty fantastic. Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, it does take a lot to become Teacher of the Year. It takes a lot to become Principal of the Year. Let's talk a little bit about the process and how you got the ball rolling, or how you made your way through to get to that title, if you will.
Well, every district has their own plan and their own process for how they select that. In our particular district of Livingston Parish, it's selected by your peers, and they pick a person to put forward. And from there, it's a partnership with the Department of Ed, where you're working through a process of a lot of interviews and self-recording videos. You practice a little public speaking like we're doing right now. And most importantly, just to showcase the things that your students do at school and what your teachers do every day.
Well, and just to be clear, Justin's at Denham Springs Junior High, correct?
That's right.
So is this a matter of you've got numbers behind you for scores within your school? Is this a matter of, is there a level of subjectivity to the teacher-principal relationship? What goes into it on that front?
Well, I think the biggest thing is just there are so many incredible principals out there. There are tons of great schools. There's so much good stuff happening in the state of Louisiana all over. So to really set yourself apart from that is an impossible thing. Mm-hmm. So there are so many great people out there. For us, I think one thing that was really a unique thing was that we saw some success working with students in a couple of unique areas. One of them being an aquaponics lab, where we have a fantastic teacher who's working with kids and put them in positions of leadership. He's designating a class CEO, and he's got somebody in charge of, when you show up, if we say, hey, Brian, you want to go check out the lab? You got to ask permission from his tour section. You got to ask for the COO to give you time to sneak into their schedule.
Very, very cool stuff. So, I mean, there's a lot of objectivity as well then.
Yeah, of course. Our students have grown. We've been a top gains school overall for several years in a row. We're recognized nationally as one of the best schools in the U.S., and that happens because of the students that we have in there, the parents that are at home, because I think a common thing is that we hear, there's not enough parent support or we can't get them, but we love them. Our people, it's a great community feel. And then, one of the most important things there is having fantastic teachers in there, just doing the best thing they do every day.
What is a top gains honoree? What is that?
Well, that is a designation that comes from the Louisiana Department of Education, talking about schools that have made big growth with students. So it's not necessarily about, hey, were we the smartest people in the state, but instead being able to take kids from where they were and to show big growth with students who really need it. And when you do that over the long haul, you see good progress with kids.
What's this year been like, being Principal of the Year? I mean, you're going to make visits, you're making the rounds?
One of my friends jokingly called me Miss America the other day, and I said, I don't think that I quite have that title, but it has been wonderful to be able to see lots of different campuses and to be in a bunch of different environments and to see what everybody has. And I think one of the things that's really hit home is that everywhere, every single day during the school year at 7:30 in the morning, people are rolling in there and they're just ready to do the right thing by kids, teach them and care for them. And there are thousands and thousands of educators just loving kids every day.
We were talking in our last segment a little bit about how teachers talk to each other and, communicate, collaborate and whatnot. What's it like on the principals level? Are y'all a pretty open community amongst each other?
Yeah, I would say even more so than teachers. Your principalship is a very lonely place. There's, when you're a teacher, you might be able to walk next door, talk to your partner teacher, or call some other math teachers in the building. But as a principal, there's only one in every building, and it can be a very lonely thing. And so I think a very important piece of that is remembering to continue to surround ourselves with a network of people who can pour into us, and, to remember that we have to fill our own cup. If we're going to be pouring into our assistant principals or to our teachers or to students, we have to continue to fill our own cup, because you can't pour out of an empty cup.
Very, very true. What made you want to become a principal?
I'm so glad that you asked that. So my dad was a principal, and I have tons of family members who are also principals. And one of the things that, to me, I really tried to run from, I guess, to sort of call it the family business. I tried to run from it. Mm-hmm. And I thought that maybe I should be a pastor. And I worked for as a youth pastor for a while.
Really?
Yeah. And I would find myself like, okay, maybe I could sneak into school and I could have lunch with this kid, or I could take this kid to ball practice, or go speak to this little small group. And then I cracked the code on substitute teaching. You're like, oh, they're trapped. Yeah, you got an audience. I'm like, oh, if they're going to be trapped, then I can go do that every day. That's how I got into teaching and how I got into coaching. And the path to leadership, I think for everybody is just, you realize that there's a chance for you to make an even bigger impact. And while there are a lot of hard days, the reward is just incredible to be able to see the impact that we can have on our communities and to be able to have on the students.
Well, talk to a little bit about that path into principalship and what, acquiring certifications and making sure that you have everything on the resume you need.
Yeah, well, like many people nowadays, I'm not a classically trained educator. The days of I went to school for 4 years to be a teacher, and then I went out and I taught for 30 years. That's actually a rare thing. Now, more common, we see people, they realize early on into a career or part of the way through college that I could get this degree and really make an impact with students. And I did the same thing. I graduated from LSU as a business major, and I just knew that I was going to run a church or run a business. And this opportunity really to be a principal has been incredible. And coaching really prepares you for the principalship in a big way.
I would imagine. Yeah.
As a coach, you make unpopular decisions, and people are public about their criticisms of those. But you believe in the players, you believe in the students, and you believe in what you're doing. And, that's what we have at Denham Springs Junior High.
So we're talking with Justin Wax. He's Louisiana's Principal of the Year. Just when you stop and think about it, it's not like principals are ever like portrayed in a positive light anywhere. I mean, you think of probably who are the two most popular or most well-known principals on TV?
When Mr. Belding, that's a classic.
Mr. Belding, yes. And then probably Principal Skinner from The Simpsons. So neither one of those are like somebody you're like, that's what I want to be.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you gotta find that niche in real life.
What's funny is that whenever I was a little kid, 5 years old, it was like my parents' favorite party trick was to like, everybody wants to know, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I wanted to be like my dad. I'm like, all right, I want to be a principal. And so they thought it was the funniest trick to every time you'd show up, say, tell them what you want to be when you grow up.
Love that. And, it's Mr. Belding, kind of a nerd a little bit, but he was always there.
Well,
he was always there. Even when his brother Rod came around and then promised him the hiking trip or the canoeing. What was it? Canoeing? I don't know. It's one episode from the 90s.
Well, I'm not doing anybody any favors on the nerd part. I hate to say it. I haven't helped anybody out on that part.
We got Justin Wax with us. All right, let's pivot over to Teacher Leaders Summit a little bit because it's the Teacher Leader Summit. So as a principal, what's your involvement here? What do you get from it?
Well, so there's about 7,500 educators here. And there are educators who work with early childhood before they're in pre-K. And there are people who are working all the way with college and career and adult education. And then you have district leaders and principals. So everybody from the state is coming together to be able to be here at this summit. And yesterday we had a big discussion about building capacity. I had the opportunity to lead a segment on that and talking about building capacity in others and helping them grow into the leader that they're going to be, whether they're a leader in a classroom, they're a leader on a campus. And truthfully, I see that as a bigger opportunity than just schools. They're to be able to grow leaders in all kinds of different industries. And so I'm really excited about the role that I've had as Principal of the Year to be able to talk to others about that.
Talk to me a little bit about the difference when it comes to, principals everywhere are a little bit different. I mean, Denham Springs, a suburb of Baton Rouge, but, you got paved roads outside. When it comes to different schools in different places around Louisiana, the atmosphere is going to be different. The needs, the wants, the desires are all going to be different no matter where you are. How are you all able to work together to kind of, ping pong a little bit and bounce some ideas off?
Well, just like any good chef, the gumbo takes the flavor that chef wants it to have.
Yes.
And so when you put a principal in charge of a campus, you expect for that person to leave a thumbprint. You want them to make an impact. And being in that position of leadership allows for that person to make a difference and to do what they want to do. But for me, I'm a community member. I want to see kids at the grocery store in the evening time. I want to bump into them at the ball game. We love when kids come back and visit us. And, I would say one thing is that the bottom line is that when I'm not there are leaders still there. We've got an incredible team. We've got some amazing teachers at our school. And the same thing is true at lots of other schools where you have people who are there every day, just going to work and doing what they do with kids in the classroom.
We got just a couple minutes left with Justin Wax. He's Louisiana's Principal of the Year, coming in from Denham Springs Junior High. You talk about the relationship with the teachers, and it's not just a top-down thing. There is a level of you play a support role as well. Talk about that.
Well, one thing that is really unique about being a school leader is that while it sometimes seems like the buck stops there are government orders that we operate under. We operate under a lot of legal obligations, but the most important piece that we have is the relationship piece, because we can build new buildings when we need to. We can buy a new desk, but you can't replace a quality person. And so the chance to be able to have people there that we lean into, and people have bad days, and we need the opportunity for people to be regular people, to care for them, and make educators want to get out of bed in the morning and go change some lives. That's a hard thing to do every day, is to wake up and know that there's going to be 150 or 200 students waiting on a teacher in their classroom, or in our case, 850 kids waiting on us when we walk in the door, and that you got to be show ready every single day to make a difference.
Absolutely. Okay, last one before we get you out of here. We are starting off day 2 of the Teacher Leader Summit. What are you hoping educators get from this summit and take back home with them?
Well, the reason that everybody comes here is because you want to see something make an impact on your students. So my hope is that every person that walks through the door gets a good takeaway that they can take back and make a difference in students' lives. None of us want to walk back with a bunch of head knowledge or a bunch of stuff that we just put down inside of a book. We want to make a difference for kids.
Well, I mean, of course, the theme this year is big ideas start here. So it just how do we find those big ideas and just grasp them to where we can run with them?
A lot of us don't make time. We don't make time to be able to have the big idea. So one thing that I would encourage people to do is summer is a great time to stop, pause, set our priorities out, and figure out what's the next big idea that's going to make a difference for our students.
See, and that's the biggest thing. I was talking about this in the weeks leading up to that. I love coming to this conference. And in the weeks leading up to it, it's like all these teachers, these 7,500 plus teachers that are out here, they ought to be wiped out. They ought to be exhausted. They ought to be on a beach somewhere with a drink with an umbrella in it. Like every one of them ought to just be completely worn down. But the level of fire that they've got in their belly for this, the level of passion they've got to take where they are and get better, it's just it's beyond admirable.
Yeah, it's impressive. You got to sometimes as a leader, you have to tell them, hey, it's time for you to take a break.
Right.
Because I want you to be able to run a marathon, not one single sprint at a time.
He is Justin Wax, Louisiana's Principal of the Year. Thank you so much for a couple minutes.
Appreciate it. Thanks
Absolutely.
for having me on.
Here comes your money now. Sorry, I ran long.
That's okay. We're out.
All right. This day in history next.
Okay.
Brian Haldane, we like that. Pros done. And they've done it for years. If you want to learn more, visit 10pros.com. Give them a call, 222-225. 330-2200 for 1-8-PROS. All right, we move from the Teacher of the Year to the Principal. Oh, here comes Justin Wax, Louisiana's Principal of the Year. Thank you so much for a couple minutes. Appreciate it. Thank you.
I think so. Man, I miss playing football. Ever since I turned 40, I just can't find that flare race back.
There are limitations.
Right. And so your superintendent.
So how do you manage that in practice? So you don't need to put limits on it. We should.
Yeah.
The 215-215 for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T2, the next generation testosterone booster. Text now and we'll through a bottle of Nugenix Thermo X, our newest, most powerful fat burner ever, absolutely free. Text SPARK to 215-215. That's SPARK to 215-215.
Guarantee Media is
Good.
Your local trendsetters committed to your career growth. GuaranteeMedia.com. And you the opportunity for Guarantee Media. The same is the 2026 Super Outback.
From blueprints to finals, boardrooms to rooms, that's where work and life move forward together, always scaling for what's next, without losing what matters. We are makers, movers, founders, improvers, turn ambition into impact, and ideas into lasting change. We're looking for a place to grow with purpose and pride. We'll find it here. It's better in Baton Rouge. BetterBTR.com. I know that hiring can be challenging, but you need someone to match your role. Well, now you can meet them back on there. Just head to ZipRecruiter.com/free right now to try for free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free. Progressive. Today, people will coverage options and restore see if you can see progressive commercial.com. Now a check on your drive from the Talk 107.3 Traffic Center.
The biggest problem of the morning isn't hard to find. This is westbound I-12, right at the end of the Sherwood Forest on-ramp. Accident there involving multiple vehicles. The two right lanes remain blocked, contributing to what is now a 41-minute ride from Juban to the 10-12 split. We've reached a point where you may want to consider Florida Boulevard as an alternate route.
We're still in traffic.
Okay.
I mean, they partying up in there, huh?
Oh my goodness! Yeah, that little parade that walked by.
I know. With your interview with your teacher, she's just laughing.
Talk 107.3 FM, WPRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along, broadcasting live from the Louisiana Department of Education's Teacher Leader Summit. Thanks again to Justin Wax for hopping on board. We are going to talk with Kevin George in our next hour, and we're going to talk with Superintendent Dr. Cade Brumley next hour as well. In fact, I believe we have Dr. Brumley for 2 full segments from 8:15 all the way up until 8:50. So looking forward to that greatly. While I've got a quick second before we hit this day in history, let me remind you about the folks over at Exxon Mobil. Been at it in Louisiana for 115 years, has Exxon Mobil, and it's been a commitment that entire way. For more than 115 years, Exxon Mobil has helped power Louisiana through good jobs, a strong focus on safety, and long-term investment in our communities. As energy needs change, Exxon Mobil is applying the experience to new solutions. Carbon capture is one of those solutions, as is carbon capture and storage. Projects that help support industry, keep jobs here at home, and bring new opportunities to markets across the state. This is not getting away from what ExxonMobil has already done. It's adding to what ExxonMobil does. And it's familiar work, just done in a new way. If you want to learn more, visit aboutlaccs.com, aboutlaccs.com. Time for this day in history. What we got?
All right, Brian, I start off this day in history in 1930. Do you have anything before then?
I have no idea. Let's go with 1930 for
All
right
right,
now.
let's roll. All right, back in the year 1930, the Chrysler Building opened in New York City. Here's the thing. At the time, it was the tallest building in the world. Pretty cool.
Gorgeous
Yeah, we could build
building, by the
things.
way. Absolutely gorgeous building.
Really?
Yeah.
I was in New York in 2021. I didn't see it. I need to
Really?
go check it out this
You,
time.
no,
Yeah.
I'm willing to wager you did see it. You just didn't know that in particular was the Chrysler Building. It's when you
Gotcha.
see it, you recognize. Once you know that that's it, you recognize it immediately.
Huh. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. In 1937, the Golden Gate Bridge opened to pedestrians. About 200,000 people crossed it before cars were even allowed. And this happened this day in history. The next day, it opens to cars.
Oh wow, how cool!
Yep. So I didn't know it opened to foot traffic first. That's
Me
cool.
neither. That's crazy.
I know. In 1994, Disney released the Lion King soundtrack weeks before the movie launch. Can You Feel the Love Tonight will become one of Disney's biggest songs.
Oh my word. Okay.
Which which back then, if you think about it, in the 80s and the 90s, movies like Top Gun, Dirty Dancing, The Bodyguard, Space Jam, selling the soundtrack weeks before the movie comes out, it was huge. It was massive back then. I don't know, not to go down the rabbit hole, but I don't know if it's near as big in 2026 as it was back then.
I don't think so, or at least it doesn't. Well, I don't. You know,
doesn't
I
feel
say
that
that,
way.
but think about Frozen.
That's true. That's true. I didn't even think about that. Or what was it? The Lilo and Stitch live action remake.
What?
They had a song on there. Yeah, it
missed out
came
on
out
that one.
last year. Anyways, in 2009, the final episode of The Tonight Show with Jay Leno during his first run aired on NBC.
Okay, during his first runs. This was when
His
he left
first
and then
run.
came back.
Yes.
Yeah. I just got done listening to the Business Wars season on the Tonight Show, Letterman versus Leno. I just got done with that last week, and I forgot I forgot what it was like when that was all going down, like how contentious that got, and how the people wanted Letterman. Everybody wanted Letterman. So,
Yep. In 2021, The Friends, the reunion premieres with all the original cast 17 years after the TV sitcom series ended. And that was a huge deal when it came back.
Yeah.
I say when it came back, but all right, skip it ahead before we get out of here. In 2022, Top Gun Maverick, the sequel starring Tom Cruise, is released 36 years after the original film.
very cool. What about birthdays?
Birthdays, the only thing I got is Andre 3000.
Okay, I'm going to add Henry Kissinger was born on this day in 1923. Vincent Price born on this day in 1911. And golfer Sam Snead in 1912.
All right. And notable deaths on this day, Maya Angelou.
That's the one I had as well.
All right. Out of here.
Okay, hour 3 is next. He's on 8:15.
Okay.
How we making out, man? How you been?
Yesterday morning,
Yes,
did all the sound check, did all the air check, all before the show started.
of course.
6:04, which is what time the show starts.
Right.
Back home in studio, there's a loud pop and everything goes dead.
Nice.
We got on the air at 6:39.
Oh my God. Oh,
Now,
no.
I did Facebook for half an hour of just that.
All right. Yeah. All right. Damn, super.
Yes, the Bloomberg Money Minute. The Trump administration reached an agreement with both of them. The automakers to hold veterans from connected vehicle stocks to China. Motor, the majority of compliant Chinese automakers, and asked for future authorization from the Commerce Department, allowing it to continue importing and selling connected passenger vehicles. Checking on your money. The S&P 500 hit another record high today, with Shipmaker leading the charge. It's continuing investment tracking continuing development in the state. Stock futures are high with a few Wall Street. And customers abroad will soon be able to direct artificial intelligence agents to trade stocks and make purchases on their credit cards for them. A client will be able to establish an autonomous trading system that's entirely separate from the customer's stated portfolio, limiting the time an AI agent can access within the ghost of money. For New Denver, Bloomberg Radio.
Checked on your drive from the Talk 107.3 Traffic Center.
We have now hit a 50-minute drive on westbound I-12 from Juba to the 1012 split. We are still looking at the cause of all of this. It's an accident just past the Sherwood Forest on-ramp. The right lane, it's like part of the right center line block here as well. So there's a lot still going on. You may want to take on Boulevard that will get you where you're going a little quicker. Highway Romero.
This report is sponsored by Mattress Firm. Ready to upgrade to the perfect sleep setup? Let Mattress Firm sleep experts guide you the perfect bed at the Memorial Day sale. Top brands, ideal comfort, score unbeatable deals on both. Mattress Firm. They make sleep easy.
This report comes to you from the Talk 107.3 Traffic Center.
Feel fresh, feel fierce, talk sleaziest typing and more at Unique Aesthetics and Wellness. Schedule now at myuniqueaesthetics.com.
Talk 107.
Warm weather.
Weather.
It's expected to get bad, especially as we move into the afternoon and evening hours. Flood watch has been issued in advance of the heavy wind threat we're seeing later on today. Now, we'll also isolated instances of flash flood from this morning. We're going to see some panic areas falling out there as we head towards the middle of the day. So rain chances are going to increase. Numerous showers and storms are expected into the afternoon and evening with high temperatures in the middle 80s. I'm meteorologist Bateman Rogers with your short station forecast. WBOZ Channel 2.
We back in?
Yep. You still got a little bit though. It's playing today.
Okay.
I see the thing. The opener. When you're ready.
806 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. Hour 3 coming your way right now. Brian here with you. Bree Lynn back in the friendly confines of the 180 Pros studio. No, we're not in studio. We are once again on location out at the Morial Convention Center in New Orleans for the Louisiana Department of Education's Teacher Leader Summit. Big ideas start here. That is the theme this year, and we're going to dive into that with Dr. Cade Brumley coming up in about 10 minutes from right now. Hour 3, though, is jam-packed because before we get to Dr. Brumley, we got Kevin George with us. How are you, man?
I'm doing great, man. Great seeing you today, man. How are things? How are things?
Yes, could not be better. I look forward to this all year long. I love the fact that Dr. Brumley brings me out here for this because it is so inspiring to see people who are inspired.
Kudos to you and the radio station and all your management for coming here and taking time to be here.
Are you trying to back Gordy's name into this segment?
Gordy, I'm not sure who you're referring to.
Okay, just proceed. Proceed.
I'm just saying, you know, it's amazing that you guys are taking the time to be out here all week because you could be anywhere. You could be in the studio, but you are taking time, Memorial Day weekend, right? That come celebrate teachers and the amazing work that's happening in Louisiana.
Well, because what they're doing is it's the end of the school year. They're done. They just crossed the finish line. I've said it probably 5 times this morning is that If I'm in their shoes, I'm not wearing shoes. My toes are in the sand. If I'm where a teacher is right now, I'm exhausted. I'm on a beach chair. I've got a cold drink with an umbrella in it. Like, this is get me. I'm done. But they're here to put their big ideas in place for next year, which when you stop and think about it, forget about exhaustion or anything, that's the time. Is when you're coming out of the school year, you know what you ever have an idea and like, I got to remember to write that down later. And then later comes and you've forgotten the whole thing.
Absolutely. And I think this comes at an amazing time because you're right. Memorial Day weekend, it could have been easy to be on the Gulf Shores, Destin, the Keys, wherever you wanted to be. But you know what? Teachers took that time because they said, you know what? It's important. We got a lot of momentum going on and we want to continue to build on that momentum. And you know what? What better place to be than in New Orleans, right here at the convention center, learning from other teachers on how to improve their instruction in their classroom.
You have seen this thing grow, like personally. You were telling me during the break, you were the first one.
The very first one was back in 2012 at the Cajun Dome in Lafayette, and actually gave the closing speech to kind of close things out. And it was just an amazing time. And we knew then that it was something special, but just to see how it has grown. When you talk about close to 7,500 teachers that are here in New Orleans learning how to improve their instructional practices. So this is amazing. Never thought it could ever grow to this level, but I'm happy to see that it has.
We're going to get around to what you're up to in just a little bit, but I want to stick with the conference for another couple minutes or so. Well, not necessarily the conference, but just the state of affairs. As you see the Teacher Leader Summit grow, you also see our rankings start to move up the charts a little bit. And it's not about side-by-side comparison. It's about self-growth, but we do see us moving up comparatively to other states. Talk to me a little bit about what you've seen that has caused that difference, because the passion's always been there. Is it a matter of focus? Is it a matter of application? Is it a matter of the man at the top? What are we looking at?
Look, all of the above. And you know what? It starts with a vision, and Dr. Brumley and his team, and he'll be the first to tell you it's him and his team that have brought a focus, an alignment of all of our resources, an alignment on best practices. Look, these are the things that we have to do to instruct kids on how to read and how to make them to work on numeracy at their level. So it is an amazing thing that they have done to put these things in place, so that and guess what? Superintendents, teachers, district leaders, everyone is falling in suit. Everyone is aligned on how to instruct the child well.
Well, and my favorite part about it is it's not paper growth.
Right.
It's not something that disappears overnight. It's established at a young age. The early childhood, there's a very strategic focus on early childhood, very strategic focus on being able to read at the right level at third grade, do math at the right level at third grade, because if you start young, you're going to continue those patterns. You're going to build habits early that will show results later on. This isn't some fictitious, like we all crammed for a test in 8th grade and Louisiana came out smelling like roses. It's built foundationally.
Look, you're talking about sustained growth from 2019 to where we are today. When you look at the rankings and the different studies that have been done on Louisiana, there's a recent one done with Harvard, Stanford, and Dartmouth that shows the growth that we've had. We're number one in the country in literacy and number two in the country in math. That isn't fictitious, as you stated. This is real sustained growth, and it's growing year over year. And when you talk about the rankings, state rankings, every time something comes up in Louisiana, there's a lot of things going on with football and this, that, and the other. And people say, well, but y'all 50th in education. I don't know where they're getting those rankings from. Because according to the data, when you look at the NAEP assessments, we moved from 50th in the country to 32nd in the country.
32nd is the number.
And so we are moving. Look, and it's you can celebrate that, but guess what? The state, we're not celebrating. We're not just resting on the laurels, right?
Right.
We have more ambitious goals that we want to reach, and we're going to keep climbing.
We're talking with Kevin George real quick. I mean, the mantra. Look, we have a little mantra in the Haldane house: always happy, never satisfied.
There you go.
And I think it applies here as well, because as we continue to grow, as we continue to move up those charts, we are going to see diminishing returns. You can move from 50th to 32nd. That's easier than moving from 32nd to 20th, or easier than moving to 25th. You mentioned football. It's like if you're ranked 25th in the country and you get one big win, you can jump into the top 15.
Absolutely.
But it's harder to get in that top 10 because nobody else is dropping off. So we'll see, comparatively speaking, we'll see a drop off in returns, but with our self growth, we could continue to see us move today's Louisiana is better than yesterday's Louisiana, regardless of how it compares to, another state.
And that's the whole point of a conference like this. People are coming here to better their crafts. They're not coming here just to remain the same.
Right.
They're coming here to learn. They're coming here to see how other teachers are doing things well in this state and bringing it back to their districts. So not resting on the laurels. And when you look at the goals of the state, that we talked about Dr. Brumley before, look at the ambitious goals that he has. He's talking about growing by 10 percentage points on the third grade leap by 2028. He's talking about growing by 10 percentage points on the eighth grade leap by 2028. Talking about growing by 10 points on the fourth grade NAEP assessments. So those are audacious, ambitious goals.
Yes, they are.
And you have to set those types of goals if you want to see progress. So we're excited about it.
All right, let's pivot over to you for just a quick second to talk about what you're up to these days.
Yeah, so right now I work around the state. I work with a nonprofit that's focused on improving math instruction in the state. I work with about 40 school systems right now, over 500 schools in the state. So I get a lot of travel miles working, going from all the way up to Monroe, down to Calcasieu, and here in New Orleans as well. So I'm excited about the work. We're doing great work. We're helping kids learn math better. And so I'm just excited to be a part of the progress that we're having.
It's called ZERN.
Yes.
So it's one of those words, like my wife knows this word because my kids use it as well. So, but it's one of those words where I'll hear it and I'm like, what is ZERN? I'll get lost in the weeds. But what is ZERN? How does it help kids with math?
Yeah, so ZERN is a model that we've created to work with. It's combined with the standards here in Louisiana, but it's to support classroom instruction. Nothing is going to help a kid better than a teacher in the classroom. And what ZERN does is support that teacher and support those students to learn math better using a research-based model on how kids learn and how they learn math, and we involve that into our program. But a lot of computer programs just work on the computer. Our program requires students to also work problems on paper. There's a notebook that comes with it, so kids can show their work. Teachers can look at their work and then grade accordingly. So we're excited about it. We're excited to be a part of this, of what we're calling the Louisiana Lift right here in Louisiana. Yep.
He is Kevin George. Man, thank you so much for stopping by for a couple minutes.
Hey, great. Always a pleasure. Thank you so much.
We're at 8:14, rolling over to 8:15 to talk 107.3 FM. Quick break. When we come back, we've got Dr. Cade Brumley with us next. For the Louisiana Department of Education's Teacher Leader Summit, big ideas start here. That is the theme this year, and we're going to dive into that with Dr. Cade Brumley coming up about 10 minutes from right now. Hour 3, though, is jam-packed because Brumley, we got we got Kevin George with us. Brumley, we got Kevin George with us. How are you? We're at 8:14, rolling over to 8:15. So much.
Brian.
8:17, talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. Pressing live from the Louisiana Teacher Summit.
here at the Morial Convention Center in New Orleans, and we, as we continue, before we get to Dr. Cade Brumley, got to remind you about the folks over at Mathern's. You know where to find them. Downtown in Baton Rouge, they're on 3rd Street. Parking lot's actually on the 4th Street side. They got entrances on both sides. If you're walking up on 3rd Street, they've got you covered. But if you're parking, it's on the 4th Street side. You'll also find them in the Nicholson Gateway Shopping Center directly across the street from Tiger Stadium. And then the OG location is back. Mathern's is on Highland Road, just west of Kenilworth, all summer long, all grilling season long. If you've got the Mathern's Rewards app, you'll want to check that app on a regular basis because every single Wednesday they update with new deals of the week. A lot of times those deals actually spill over from more than 1 week. They'll run sometimes 12 days, sometimes 15, maybe even a little bit more, but you're always going to find new deals at the Mathern's Rewards app, and you'll earn cash towards more groceries every time you shop at Mathern's. All right, it is time to welcome in Dr. Cade Brumley. How are you, sir? Well, hang on. Sorry. There we go.
Well, there you go. I'm still great.
Yeah. So
not just people know I'm great.
There you go. This is day 2. Let's little recap of day 1. How did things kick off yesterday?
Oh man, it was great. I'm so excited just because I think this is our biggest event we've ever had. We're I say just under 8,000 educators once you pull everyone together, and the vibe is good. Yesterday morning I was able and fortunate to kick things off, and I really wanted my speech to be about simply thanking teachers. So I used the AI tool Grok, and I said, Grok, tell me everything that I've ever said publicly about teachers. And it gave me a whole list of like every quote that I've ever made about teachers. And of course, overwhelmingly and rightfully complimentary of teachers. And so I used that as the means for my message in my speech. And so trying to incorporate a little AI into the speech, but just really using my time to compliment teachers because they are the reason that, this work is being driven as it is in Louisiana, and we're changing the narrative. And so then once I finished up, I welcomed Coach Kim Markey on stage. And the concept behind that with having Coach Markey here is, she's won a national championship in basketball as a player, as an assistant coach, as a head coach at multiple universities, including LSU. And I was, talking with our team about, we feel like in many ways, because we're number 1 in the country for growth and we've made so much progress, we feel at the top in so many ways with improvement. And I wanted to ask her, like, once you're there, how do you keep pushing? How do you motivate yourself? And so that's what that was about. So,
and I would imagine there's a lot of parallels and takeaways there because every season is a new season for basketball. When the next year's team rolls in, you hadn't won nothing yet, Jack.
That's right.
The same is true for the next school year as well. You've built a foundation. You're building a foundation of growing success. And what I was talking about with Kevin in our last segment, it is foundational. It's not just paper numbers here. Where the emphasis has been on early childhood, where the emphasis has been on 3rd grade literacy and numeracy, those kids carry that with them moving forward. You're not just cramming for one test in 8th grade to look good.
Well, you're only as good. The parallel is you're only as good as your last game, you know, and that's kind of where we were with Coach Markey. And you have to keep the push on, have to keep the full court press on because that's what Louisiana kids need and deserve. But we talked about so many of the parallels. How do you coach people? Whether you're talking about coaching a teacher or coaching a kid, how do you receive criticism and feedback, and how do you deal with that? How do you prepare, and so a lot of good parallels in that conversation. Was so glad to have that. And people left that session happy and upbeat. And then they've just been yesterday and already this morning. If you look around, they're headed into their sessions and they're excited to be there.
Well, and excited to be there is one of those things that you and I have talked about this in the past. Is like the timing of this thing. It's right on the heels of the school year.
Yeah.
Which you have that dichotomy where you have on the one side, they should be exhausted. They should be so done. But on the other side, the theme is big ideas start here. Your big ideas are going to be fresh coming out of the school year. You don't put them on a shelf for 2 months and then hope to get the best out of somebody. Grab the ideas while they're still fresh.
Well, and we have some individuals from outside of the state of Louisiana that are here that, for instance, they're in the vending room and hall where they're, they have various products and all. And they're just like, man, we can't believe teachers are so excited about being here. And the other thing people can't believe if this is their first time to experience this event is how first class it is. Like we go all out to make this a really good experience for teachers. And then the sessions that we have over the 3 days, these are not like, let's just throw something together really fast. We work on this all year for hundreds of sessions to make sure they are especially tailored to the science of reading or foundational math or the high school experience, the things where we are pushing, like these sessions are training teachers in those areas.
And there's a lot of things that are more than just the education. I mean, we've spent a lot of time on the show today talking about attendance. I mean, the mortar between the bricks, right? They've got to be there in order to learn the science of reading. They're going to be there in order to learn the math.
Well, the education scorecard that came out a couple of weeks ago from Harvard and Stanford said Louisiana is the number one state in the country for growth. They said that we're the number one state in the country for reading, number 2 for math. But they said in this study, and it was from 2022 to 2026, they said that our results, even though we're number 1, were minimized because of attendance concerns in Louisiana. So, we're a state that coming out of the pandemic, during the pandemic and then coming out, has struggled a bit to have kids in school every single day. I mean, we're making progress, but I think what happened during the pandemic, even though Louisiana was a state where we pushed hard to make sure every kid was in school every day, there was a mindset developed among some individuals that school was optional.
Right.
And then we've been trying to work our way out of that ever since. And we've made progress, but attendance takes, the school system, the family first and foremost, but then, social service agencies, the faith-based community, the juvenile judges, the district attorneys, all those people working together on that.
We're talking with Dr. Cade Brumley. We're talking more about the Teacher Leader Summit in this segment. We might get to some headlines in our next segment, just to toss that out there. But keeping it with with the Teacher Leader Summit, your role as superintendent, there's kind of multiple parts to this when you're at a Teacher Leader Summit, because you want ideas from the teachers. So how do you play that with being hands-on but being hands-off?
Yeah, good question, and it's a good balance. So for one, like when people see me or my team here, they want to engage, they want to talk, they want to visit, and we want that. But what they don't also realize is we're actively running a conference for 8,000 people at the same time. And so I personally enjoy visiting with the teachers in the hallways more than anything, and the educators more than anything, because I want to say, hey, how was that session? Tell me about it. I want to say, how can that relate? Or what were you excited about that happened over the course of the year? How did your student data turn out? I want to ask those questions, and then I want to learn how they're thinking about next year. And they're excited to have those conversations. They're so upbeat. I'm so thankful for Louisiana's teachers.
Well, I guess where I was going with that, and that was a good answer to part of the question, but the other part is to not be intrusive, to not be like, because when you have the superintendent in the room, there can be a tendency to defer to. If we're looking for ideas, they don't have to come from the top down.
Yeah, well, I mean, I hope that we have created an environment. Naturally, that's going to be true. There's no way that you can not have that situation. It's like whenever I'm the state superintendent and I show up for my kids' parent-teacher conference.
That's exactly what I'm talking about.
Like, okay, a little bit of awkwardness.
Right.
But anyway, so that was in the past. But I do think we've created a culture where teachers are willing to talk with us at the department. I've got the Superintendent's Teacher Advisory Council where I meet with teachers quarterly. We talk about ideas. We have so many groups and calls, and over the course of the year where we try to have these layers of feedback. So I think there is some comfort there, but one can never take away just the formality of the positional status or whatever you want to call it that makes people a little uncomfortable. But I think we've done everything we can to help with that.
We got Dr. Cade Brumley in with us. He's going to be with us through this segment and the next segment as well. More on the Teacher Leader Summit within this segment. What's today looking like?
Well, looking like, it's Spirit Day. So we've asked all of our teachers to wear shirts to recognize or represent their school. So I don't actually have a school, so I'm wearing an All Louisiana Kids Are Math Kids shirt.
I love that.
I'm trying to be cool and real here too. I got my jeans on, and everybody's trying to be part of the game. But as far as sessions, it's going to be a continuation. We really have tons of sessions on the science of reading, foundational math, work-based learning experiences, helping with students with exceptionalities, helping with kids that are gifted, attendance, AI, you name it. If it's one of our kind of priority areas or important, we have sessions on it throughout the day.
You mentioned AI. How much is that playing in? Because I would imagine, year over year, it's going to grow.
Well, it's an interesting balance. Again, I'll use that word balance. I'm sorry. But what you have right now is you have a world that there is without a doubt a world being impacted by AI. Without a doubt, is being impacted by AI. But at the same time, you have this push to limit screen time for kids so that kids aren't constantly on the screen.
Right.
So what we have tried to do as an agency is put out guardrails on how to navigate AI in a way that can use it as a tool for kids for instruction, but is safe. And then we also have a number of AI pilots in the field that we're running parallel research beside. So if we're doing this, we want to research this and see, is it even working? And so that's the way that we have tried to approach that. And at the same time, you'll be seeing even more of a push for us in the next coming months around making sure that kids are engaging with full text and reading books, and making sure that, it's not just read this excerpt and respond to it. It's more about, here's a book from cover to cover, you're going to hold it, and we're going to return to some of that as well. So we're trying to balance those two things.
Got about 2 minutes left before we hit news, traffic, weather. Dr. Cade Brumley is with us, and he'll be with us after the break as well. As we're closing out this school year and starting to pivot towards the next, do we know what the big push is for next year? Is it just continued focus on our current results? Or, I mean, I know we've went from literacy to numeracy to adding in some civics for America 250. Where's the next big push?
Well, we think our strategy is the right one. I mean, and it's showing in the results. We're leading the entire country from east, west, north, south. People are calling us, hey, what are you doing? How are you doing it? So we don't want to lose focus on that. I will say, we want to continue the push to improve attendance. I also feel like for way too long, schools and school systems have been too tolerant of inappropriate behavior of students. And that's caused many teachers to leave the profession. And so last year, I called out that superintendents and principals need to make sure that the classrooms and the campuses are peaceful and orderly. And so you'll see more of that from me this year. I want to make sure that, there aren't a couple of handfuls of kids that are disrupting a class or a school and forcing teachers out of the profession, or forcing other kids to not be able to learn.
What's that been like over the last 2 years or so? I mean, when teachers finally learn that, the system has their back.
Well, we believe that we have done good work in making sure that teachers can take control of their classrooms. We've had a lot of help legislatively. We've had a lot of help with our state board, but our message has been, my message has been pretty clear. I want classrooms to be orderly. I want classrooms to be peaceful. I want that to translate to the campuses. You see examples when that is not the case, and it's really frustrating to me and the community. But what I would say is, I will keep encouraging superintendents and principals to use the resources and laws that they have at their disposal to make sure that campuses are orderly and peaceful.
We are not done just yet, but we do have to pause for a quick second here on air. We got Dr. Cade Brumley in with us for one more segment. Going to pivot from the Teacher Leader Summit to some of the headlines going on. We saw a recent election that it didn't necessarily have the results that some were looking for. We've also got some proposals out there by the governor. We might touch on those as well. Stick around. Dr. Cade Brumley continues with us next, right here on Talk 107.3 FM. Here's news. All right, it is time to welcome in Dr. Cade Brumley. All right. It is time to welcome in Dr. Election that we've got Dr. Cade Brumley with us for one more segment. You have to pause for a quick second. Sure. We are not done.
universities and self-generated funds, much of it coming from TV contracts, and set the dollar amount for the student athletes and their private.
All right, so how it works is your child should read the passage, answer two questions, you put this up way to the there's nothing better. Even parents, it's your fault if your child don't write math. Your child starts with reading comprehension, and this is the one you want for first and second grade. Your child reads a passage, answers two questions, you put the book away for the day, bring it out the next day, read the same passage, answer the next two questions.
That's now cleared, all money's open and back down, which makes the rain for the moment is starting to improve, so hopefully that won't be a problem spot that much longer. If you're coming down an I-10, no real problems there, flying prime into and out of the Baton Rouge area. And we also get some crash on Tower Road and Campus Drive. All right, Maryland History Board is
I think we got another minute or so before we're back in. So
Yeah, we're in traffic.
okay. Oh well, then we got more than a minute. So.
This is Tim Harris, President and CEO of RES Country. We're a proud partner of industry makes and RES, we're a full service industrial contractor. Fabrication, mechanical, electrical. We're passionate about this manufacturing. Think about it. Your food, water, medicine, clothes, phone, power, makes it all happen. And remember, when others make those, we'll make everything else. These are industry makes Stockford. Industry makes Stockford. And what is your partner, not an IP provider? When you're a partner, you have a relationship.
So reading a story multiple.
One of the roads is right here. Office is on Carolyn Forest Boulevard. With skilled and responsive technicians ready to take care of you. If you want to learn more, call 225-330-2100 or visit 180pros.com. Right now, here, pick the color, pick your style.
Progressive Insurance makes monthly easy and affordable. Get a multi-policy discount by combining motorcycle, RV, boat, ATV, and more. All protection.
All right. So
We're about to get in the weather.
Okay. Cool.
Brian, do you want me to separate these two interviews with Dr. Brumley?
No, just combine them.
Okay.
That's fine.
So what is the time map there? The time zone map that you have?
Oh, it's just a atomic clock, so that I know that my clock and her clock back in studio are the same one. So I'm just looking at what our exact time is. We will break at 8:50.
Gotcha.
On the nose. So it was 8:30 was when news hit. And I have another one that's just our time zone, but it has pop-up ads on it, and I don't know who decided to put pop-up. $36 Buffalo 73 FM WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. Broadcasting live from the Morial Convention Center in New Orleans as we continue our coverage of the Louisiana Department of Education's Teacher Leader Summit. Got Dr. Cade Brumley with us for another segment. I do need him to hang out for just a quick minute so I can remind you about the Baton Rouge Metro Airport. FlyBTR.com is the website, FlyBTR.com. Making your travel plans for LSU football season. Got news for you here. Delta has put together direct flights to Knoxville and Lexington. They will leave out the Friday before the game, come home the Sunday after the game, so you get to enjoy all of game day. If you're traveling with the Tigers this year, Tennessee and Kentucky, they've got them both covered. Now, if you're bringing friends in from Clemson, Alabama, or Texas, they've got the same thing going on there in reverse. Learn more at flybtr.com. And, of course, the daily flight to Washington, D.C. heads out the 6 o'clock hour every morning. Get your business done in our nation's capital same day. Come home, sleep in your own bed. flybtr.com. All right, Dr. Brumley, we've had a lot going on the headline front, and I wanted to dive into a little bit. First of all, thank you again for having me out here, first of all,
so
because
glad
this
you
is
came.
such a wonderful event. But for the added access here to kind of pick your brain a little bit about what's going on, let's go ahead and start with yesterday's press conference with the governor and the Senate president. They're putting together a task force to find teachers a raise. So talk to me a little bit about what your impressions were, what your feedback is, what your contribution would be in that discussion.
Well, look, I mean, I've had conversations with both the governor and the Senate president in advance of that meeting. I have, open access to both of those guys and have ongoing conversations, which is good and healthy. There's no doubt to me that teachers in the state of Louisiana have earned a permanent pay raise. There's absolutely no doubt about that. I mean, sorry to say it again, but Louisiana is leading the nation in educational improvement, and that's not our data, that's national data. And so there's no doubt in my mind that Louisiana teachers have earned a permanent pay raise. I would also remind everyone that, Louisiana teachers are not employees of the state of Louisiana. Louisiana teachers are employees of their local school system. Right. So there's a little bit of nuance to that whenever we talk about pay raise and who pays it and how much of it should be paid. But there's no doubt in my mind that Louisiana teachers have earned a pay raise. What I understand from yesterday's press conference, and obviously I wasn't there, I've been here yesterday and today, is that, and I watched it, the governor and the Senate president and speaker was there also, announced that they're going to form a task force to study the MFP, which is our state minimum foundation program, the minimum amount of money required to provide an education to a student in the state of Louisiana. The MFP was never designed to be simple. It was designed to account for a number of different things. So, for example, the state of Louisiana will provide more funding to school systems that aren't able to provide as much for themselves. They have a lower tax base, for instance. The MFP provides for if a local community decides to tax itself more, the MFP rewards that with additional state dollars. The MFP has certain weights in it for gifted and talented kids so that they produce more money because it costs more money to serve them, or special ed kids or career and technical education. So it's a very complicated model. It just is. And so they are embarking on a task force, which is heavily legislatively appointed, to look at that probably over the conclusion of this calendar year and make recommendations. I am not named in that as a member of that group. And I had this conversation with the Senate president because ultimately at the end of the day, that group will be advisory and they will make a recommendation on what they believe should happen with education funding in the state of Louisiana. But then I will be responsible for taking that and going to Bessie, which is our state board, and then Bessie has to approve an MFP that goes to the legislature because the way law in Louisiana is written is the Louisiana Board of Elementary and Secondary Education makes a recommendation to the legislature on MFP, and they accept it or they reject it. And so the way that the state board gets there is I make a recommendation to them as state superintendent. So with what the governor and the Senate president, and I know all this is kind of wonky and in the weeds, I'm sorry, but it just is. This group that has been legislatively formed will meet over the course of this year, as I appreciate it. They will make recommendations. I will have access to those meetings. I'll have access to that information. Then I will have to in turn make a recommendation to the State Board of Education that will then vote on an MFP that goes to the legislature for consideration.
Okay, so when you have access to those meetings, do you want input in those meetings, or would you rather just wait for a finished product to be able to give your full evaluation?
No, I mean, I'm going to be actively engaged with members. I mean, it's a complicated process, and so you want to make sure they have good information, that their questions are answered. So I'm going to be available to them. I'm going to make my team available to them, our finance department available to them, because I want them to have good information to make good decisions. Because if you've got that many legislators or legislator appointees on that committee, naturally what they end up recommending is what they're going to want to see ultimately in the legislature. Right. So I want to make sure that we're a part of those conversations, and at the end of the day, that what we're doing can provide for an adequate funding of public education in the state of Louisiana. I mean, it is something that is vitally important to our state. You know, I don't think that now is the time to pull back money per student in an expenditure, but we do need to look at student declines overall and
Right.
how has that impacted the situation. We need to look at areas of focus, like, for instance, career and technical education. We need to make sure we're meeting the workforce demands. Are we putting enough money directly there? So these are all conversations I think they'll have, and we look forward to being involved with those.
Are there any parameters on the front end that just like there's some things that are just completely hands off?
I don't know. We'll
Yeah.
see. I mean, one thing about our MFP, even though that, you know, everybody likes to hate it, and I'm not a defender of it, I just have to implement it, is that it has been, you know, constitutionally challenged, and it has always prevailed.
We got Dr. Cade Brumley in with us, talking a little bit about a few of the educational items that have been in the headlines. Keeping it with raises, there was an amendment on a ballot a couple weekends ago. Came up well short. What was your reaction when you saw that?
Well, I mean, I wasn't surprised. I mean, you saw some of the headlines going into that vote. You know, there's an effort to vote everything down. I think that there was some communication out about what that did and what that didn't do that was not favorable. So I wasn't surprised. But at that point, I also knew we had a problem because teachers deserve a pay raise.
Right.
And so then I'm really thankful that the governor, I'm really thankful that legislative leadership are going back to the table to try to work and resolve this issue. But I'm also hopeful that local school systems will do everything within their power to make sure their budgets are scrubbed, because there's nothing that they can do that's more important than making sure schools are staffed with teachers.
Right.
You know, you can talk about programs and this or that, or facilities, this and that. But at the end of the day, the most important thing that they can do, the most important resource that they can invest in for their kids, for the kids of the system, is a high quality teacher. So I consistently talk to about the fact that local systems have to scrub budgets to make sure that they are providing competitive pay to teachers. And that's why, specifically in your Baton Rouge market, I was excited to see the announcement about that Superintendent Cole made about trying to raise the pay for teachers in East Baton Rouge.
Oh, and yeah, with the $6,000 a year.
Yeah, because I'll tell you, we had data, specifically the EBR, we had data that an overwhelming number, you would be surprised by the percentage of vacancies statewide were vacancies in EBR. And it's directly tied to their pay situation. And so I'm really thankful that Superintendent Cole and that board are looking within their own budget to see, within our own budget, without going out for additional dollars from the community, how can we give our teachers a raise they deserve?
When it comes back to, and I might be just overreading into it, but when it comes back to the amendment that was on the ballot, I mean, was your office in favor of it in the first place, or do y'all not take a stance?
We don't take a stand. You know, I felt like there were a lot of good things in that. For instance, it was paying down debt. You know,
Right.
so I think that paying down debt is always good, but I think that got misconstrued in the communication. But it was paying down debt. I thought that was good. It was not providing an additional tax burden on the public, which I thought was good. It was giving teachers a pay raise. But look, at the end of the day, the public spoke, and the public said no. And so that's where we are as a state. And I am appreciative that people are regrouping to think about teachers.
We got Dr. Cade Brumley with us for a couple more minutes. Want to pivot over to another amendment that was on the ballot. And if there's no take from your office on this one, I understand. But St. George looking to form their own community school district. I know this is something that it's not new to your office to sound off on this, but it's one that we're talking about a battle 15 years in the making. We're talking about the people who, when they first started this, their kids are in college now. If your kid was in kindergarten when this started, they're in college now. What was your reaction? Obviously not surprised on that one either, but what was your reaction on Amendment 2?
Well, again, not surprised because what we were seeing with all the amendments heading into that vote. But I'll tell you this, like the EBR school board, I just complimented them, but they better listen to the citizens and community of St. George.
Oh, yeah.
You know, those individuals are passionate about wanting better schools for kids. And they haven't been given the options that they need and deserve, in my opinion, for some time. Now, I will tell you that the pressure from this movement has created, I believe, to be some conversations within the EBR school system around what can be done to make this better for that St. George community. I would love to see some new schools in St. George. I would love to see some new programs in St. George. I would love to see, families in St. George be able to access schools from across the district, or to students in North Baton Rouge to be able to access the school in St. George. So I think there are some really important conversations that have to be had on that EBR school board. But I hope that they acknowledge the desire of the citizens of St. George to be able to have high quality schools.
Speaking of which, and this is one that I think is probably a bigger picture question, but should this have to take a constitutional amendment? Should the people of Avoyelles Parish or Rapides Parish have a say on what the folks in St. George do to educate their children?
Well, that too would take a constitutional change to make a constitutional change.
I understand that.
So,
but I mean, if you have it blanket on the Constitution, it can apply to everybody. If you have just St. George on the ballot, it only applies to St. George. So you can vote no all day long until it's your backyard.
Well, and I think if you look through the history and you look at Zachary or Central or Bogalusa or some of the Monroe City, where they have created these carve out school systems, generally the rest of the state just says, oh, if that's what they want, fine. You know, and that's how they vote that thing. But I think this particular set of amendments were so caught up in some other dynamics that you had an entire block going into that vote that were no down the ballot on everything, and so it became hard to work through some of the nuances on that particular election day. But again, I'll say that the people spoke, and government has to respond to what the people are saying.
Dr. Cade Brumley, before we get you out of here, okay, we're in New Orleans right now. What's your go-to every time you're in town?
Well, if I tell you that, then everybody might show up. Everybody want a meal there. Look, New Orleans is blessed to have so many great restaurants, and I enjoy, just like everyone else, I enjoy spending time here in these sessions, but also I enjoy spending time with our team and teams from around the state after these sessions are over, just collaborating, networking, learning more about them and their family. So we'll do some of that.
Did you really? Your most political answer was over where you're going to grab lunch. That was like you were open and honest about everything until I asked you about
probably because I will not grab lunch. There will not be lunch for Cade Brumley today, but there will be dinner. So.
Awesome. Well, I greatly appreciate the time. I greatly appreciate the opportunity every year to come out here. Hopefully we're doing it again next year because it is a phenomenal event. I can't brag on it enough.
Thank you.
Dr. Brumley, thank you so much. We're coming up on 850 at Talk 107.3 FM. We'll take a quick break. We'll check your money now. We'll check traffic one more time, and then we will come back to close that out next. We're broadcasting live from the Morial Convention Center and the Department of Education's Teacher Leader Summit. Good?
Yep, we're good.
Awesome.
Going on the front. We're coming up on 850 and talk. It's a phenomenal event. I can't brag on it enough.
Season, I did so. Man, I miss playing football ever since I turned 40. I just can't find that hilarious band. You just testosterone the way you eat. I was feeling so much. After 4, the body has less testosterone. And then with the wrench, it's like Genetics Total T2. That's the testosterone which right this for Total T2 with a brand new formula. It's got about its anti-toxic levels and it's lipid 3 hours since it started taking. I didn't look you up when we took the chart. My age is way up and it starts up with this. There's always Genetics Total T2, the next generation testosterone booster. Text now or in the bottle of the Genetics Thermo X, our newest, most powerful fat burner ever. Absolutely great. Text SPARK to 215215. That's SPARK to 215215. We're celebrating the dads who do it all.
All right. I'm just now seeing your text, Breland. Sorry
That's
about
okay. He got louder in the second part.
Okay.
So Moon is not coming today. He's coming Tuesday.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that works out.
Yes.
Because I'm like, to test this, I can do it. I just rather not while you're on location.
Yeah. No. You can't get rid of me to get him on. That like just to test him out. No. Ooh.
Oh, who's doing Foodie Friday this Friday?
We don't know yet. If you know of anybody, I need help.
Okay. Can we get like a barbecue place like Sonny's or what's that one down Government?
Hannah Q, Jay's, Offset.
Ooh, let's get Offset.
I've been trying. They're quote unquote super busy. They don't do that as their main gig. That's a side hustle for both of them. So it's
That's
difficult.
why they're closed certain hours. Okay.
Right. They're only open on the weekends.
Hannah Q's is the one I'm thinking of. That's on curbside side of Government.
Yes.
Okay.
I've got On the Smokehouse coming on the 12th.
Okay. So even if we don't get a barbecue place, it's not the worst day.
Well, I don't have anything for
Friday. Yep. Let me see what I can do. Oh, you know who? Mason's Grill. Robert.
Let's go.
Like, duh, or to me.
Can-
Yeah, let me get with Scotty and get a phone number for Robert. I can just call him and ask him if he wants to
Beautiful.
because he's already advertising.
Okay. Perfect. And yeah, we could do burgers.
That's fine. That's what I'll tell him. Like, think summertime burgers.
Yep.
Keep it simple.
Bring some samples. Oh, I got to do Guarantee Health before I get out.
In one bag.
Oh, okay. .56 Talk 173 FM WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. One segment to go before we get out of here. Oh man, broadcasting live from the Morial Convention Center for the Teacher Leader Summit. Been a whirlwind of 2 days out here. All the content is available on demand at talk1073.com, courtesy of the folks at Lake Urgent Care. If you've missed out on any of it, cannot thank Dr. Brumley enough, not just for the time that he spent with us. We literally just had a half an hour with the superintendent of education, but also for bringing me out, because this isn't your normal news talk show. It is a little bit different than what, we'll get back into the session tomorrow for sure. We'll get back into the business of the Metro Council tomorrow for sure. But just to devote 2 full days to education, I find it, it's one of those things I'm glad we have the opportunity to do it. And just to see the passion and the fire with these teachers out here, it's truly amazing. Before we get out of here, got to remind you about Guarantee Health Solutions. GuaranteeHealth.com is the website. GuaranteeHealth.com. If you own or run or manage a medical facility, medical outfit in some way, shape, or form, whether you're talking about an urgent care or a doctor's office, or anything in between, whether you're talking about a dentist's office or a specialty clinic, give GuaranteeHealth.com a look. How's the front of your house talking to the back of your house? How's your bedside manner with your patients? How are you making sure that the relationships you have with your patients translate to more patients? They've built out a 4-pillar process at GuaranteeHealth.com. You can learn more about it there, and then you can, while you're on there, get our phone or get their phone number and give them a call for Guarantee Health Solutions. Hey, Bree Lynn.
Howdy.
Hey, we missed out on something on this day in history. I cannot believe I missed this one. But I was bumping around Twitter. You know, there's somebody I follow on Twitter that yeah. You know, it was this day 25 years ago that Skip Bertman coached his last game at the old Ellick Box Stadium. Yeah. I don't know how I missed that during this day in history. But yeah, we
now, what was his last game that he coached?
It was
versus who? Obviously LSU.
It was in the Super Regional at Tulane, or at the Shrine on Airline, for the Super Regional, because we had hosted a regional and then went to Tulane for their end of the regional. But yeah, there was this day 21 years ago, LSU beat Virginia Commonwealth 14-9 for the Skipper's last game in Ellick Box Stadium. So. Missed it during this day in history, but we got it covered right there. So, can't believe I missed that one. All right. Hey, before we get out of here, one of the stories I'm going to be looking at for tomorrow is, since I'm in New Orleans, and while New Orleans is still standing, go look at WBRZ.com or at The Advocate. There's a story right now saying that New Orleans Mayor Helena Moreno wants to put a tunnel under New Orleans from the Morial Convention Center over to the Superdome. It's a 1-mile stretch, but maybe I just need to learn more, but this sounds like a horror movie looking for a place to happen on so many different fronts.
3 seconds.
Tunneling under New Orleans. We'll talk about it tomorrow. We're out of here. Moon's next.
It fired on its own, Brian. What the hell?
What?
The Presley.
Oh, good.
It fired on its own.
Well, the last one of the show probably should, huh?
I never did that before. That's interesting.
Oh, all right. Well, I'm getting out of here. So Facebook.
All right, be careful.
Yep. Well, I'll be back in early this afternoon. I have a lunch in New Orleans, a lunch in Metairie before I come back. So.
Okay.
All right. Facebook. We'll see y'all later.